pressure bust pipes, or creates VVS, cut ice, up nice, we puff pipes to relieve the stress, fuck life. We went from thug life to screaming we the best before calling every girl a bitch, the girls a bitch, Jews were tossed, left the world a dish, food for thought, leave a tip for the leadership, avoid the GMO, eat what you grow, reap what you sow, reap the rest, Rapunzel, thread and needle, golden lawn, holding arms as long as Matombo, longer stretch, then runs of Colombo, older uncles in the golden dawn, nephews in the vestibules, holding arms, going arms at the head of fiends, role model Pablo in the Medellin, the people that you let deceive you, is the closest ones, the nephews, the uncles, they the first ones to rush and run through, whose house the tools out, forcing you to crack the safe and take them jewels out, crack the fridge and take some food out, family sits at the table, shit, the same family kills, they came to table, more horrors than Amityville. The haters in the game can turn fatal. You can change your name, but never change your label. Once you've been labeled as able to carry out your hateful spew, and I fail to bring it straight to you. Jokes on me, April Fools. You can take the tool to fake my cool shit. Who wanna lay in fools? That's why I keep the heater on me. All your social traits show you sweet and corny. Suck a tash, cut the grass, and go that way. That's where them cobras lay. The coldest thing was overlaid by a poker face. I got my joker on. Jared Leto, open case. Set placebos, hold a race. Golden on to close the case. Fighters touching like discussions over nice production. Pipes be busting. Desert eagles in these golden palms. VVS, I'm just an angel of light. You know, an angle of light. A stranger in the night, entangled in the fight, the strangle in the life, the changing of the gods, the rearranging of the cards, Dr. Strange in them foreign cars. We was icons before they started shooting them Nikons. We had the cannon and the marker cannon, 3.5s in the 70s, knee high in the 70s. Now it's ebonies in every prism, deadly missions like Debbie Fisher. Heavy scripture, heavy mixture, cherry elixir, and every bar mitzvah. Moving hand, niggas use the gram just for moving grams. Ain't losing hands, niggas losing band. We in a music band, and they wanna stroke my ego, to invoke my egos. Man, I spoke to people with that cocorico, get a dope as legal. My commentary is like commissary for these broken people. Food for thought, I'm on my shmoney grind. Bentley truck, same color as the honey wine. Your organ rising, the price of your organs rising. If niggas ain't talking about organizing, it's no communication, poor road rising.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You have just heard VVS off of the Twin album, performed by Red and Blue Pill. Go over to Know the Ledge Media and go check out the video. We just launched it on the Black Moon, which was last night. You know, ritualistically, we dropped that VVS. Go check that out. That's a visual masterpiece. Matter of fact, watch it with the sound off. Just turn the sound off and just look at it. You know what I'm talking about? You know, just turn the sound off and just look at the visuals. You know, it's beautiful. It's a piece of art. Shout out to House of Tunes, the young god out of Philadelphia. He made that thing happen right there, you know. Salute to him. The brother, he filmed the Road to Wakanda video, you know what I'm saying? The legendary Road to Wakanda, and he filmed Orthodox. So the brother from House of Tunes, and he was on tour with a Marion and the family on that Millennial tour doing camera work. So salute to the young god out of Philadelphia, Mathino Bay, doing his thing, moving up and making things happen. Shout out to John Shula. He's doing his thing with Jim Jones at Rock Nation and doing a lot of work. He did the Prince video and made for this. You know what I mean? Now the brother is, you know, living out his best life. You know what I'm talking about? He's living out his dreams. And that's what happens when you know, when your intentions are set forth and you follow your, you know, you follow your dreams. You feel me? You move with force, right? You move athletic build, moving with force. You move with a force. You know, you move with a purpose. Athletic build, moving with purpose. Translation, moving with force. And force is something that a lot of principles that humans, gods, mortals, and immortals, they move with that principle, force, right? Translation, might. Translation, power. Some people call it white power. Some people call it black power. Some people call it power on stars with 50, but power nonetheless, right? Force. When I was in my booster days, I belonged to a crew called G-Force. You know what I'm talking about? G-Force. They were low lifes and they were G-Force. And we moved with force. I was known back then as Wisdom. That was my street name. And then Phil Figure. And Blue Pill was Felony. And then he turned into P-More. But that's a whole nother chapter. So tonight we're going to talk about The Might is Right. It's a book. It's a gem. It's a manifesto. It is a Bible to what we've been told and what we are taught and what we are shown is the white power structure. This ceremoniously being done right on the eve, or rather on the day, for that matter, of the release of the 5th installment of Hidden Colors 5. I believe it's The Art of War. If that's the incorrect title, somebody give me the correct title. But the title of this show tonight is entitled Might is Right, hashtag Art of War. I'm going to approach this from a journalistic point of view, mainly because just having that hashtag and that name in my title is automatically going to get my video surveilled and looked at, because that's a trigger. Okay? I'm going to reveal what was told to me to go and research. And as a researcher, I'm going to share it with the family. Okay? I'm going to share some things, and I'm going to philosophically add on, you know, my interpretations of what it is that's being read. I'm delving into what they call, and what I'm going to show you is a Bible for not white people as you know them, or the Bible that they read. No, I was exposed, as was the rest of the world, after the Garlic Fest shooting. And I said in my Instagram post, vampires hate garlic. Okay, nobody in their right mind will go and shoot up a garlic fest other than a vampire. So after we put out Into Deep, the lecture that many people went ahead and joined us on that live stream, and a whole bunch of other people have purchased their copy of Into Deep, the 7-hour masterpiece. That's the best thing, a prophetic masterpiece. And I'm telling people, get the Into Deep, but also get the PDF, the whole study guide, the 100+ study guide to go with it, because you will see how things are going to begin to take place immediately after you look at that DVD, or you look at that whole lecture and whatnot. Because in that lecture, so much stuff that I spoke about and that I we went into deep and unpacked and decoded, it immediately started to surface immediately afterwards, for the people who bear witness to the live stream that I did Into Deep. And you know, that's not for self-aggrandizement purposes. I have to use that disclaimer. So this is not some ego rant. This is simply facts. I'm going to show you some things that have surfaced since we did In Too Deep in a few minutes. So I'm going to unpack the shooter of the Garlic Fest who got murdered, who was martyred by the police, right? People say murdered, but martyred. He went ahead and put in work in the name of whatever this silent crew is, whatever this silent team of Fortniters or Grand Theft Autoers, or whatever this kill team that's out here catching strikes, catching stains. You know what I'm talking about? Catching, scoring on the ops. And the ops, like in these video games, can be anybody. Don't get it fucked up. This is the generation of the video game killers. Everybody could get it after Grand Theft Auto 3. Everyone was suspect. It's not a color thing. So you have these mass shootings and whatnot. They're not cherry picking melanated people. That's not what's going on. And this like, when they say when you tap into something. First of all, when Bobby Hemmett said, if they tell you don't go to something, to run to that shit. If they tell you don't read something, that you go and read it. Well, that's what happened with me with this Might of Right book. I saw it. I saw the tweet where the shooter put it in a tweet. It was a tweet of whatchamacallit, of Smokey the Bear, right? And then under that, he said, you should go read Right of Might. This was like the last tweets that this shooter put out. And it's always conspicuously with these long, it's a specific group of these shooters. It's the Dylan Roofs. It's the Waffle House shooter. It's, it's all of those that fall within the trajectory of them being all affiliated with these white hate groups that nobody ever named for you. Nobody gave you no name. Nobody gave you no description. We're talking about the same Federal Bureau of Investigation that will tell you the DNA breakdown of a quote-unquote black suspect. They'll lock up the whole lineage, the whole bloodline, and charge them with some kind of federal crime. They'll tell you they'll have a detailed news conference and give you the complete framework and structure and cooking formulas of a heroin, dope, gun smuggling crew and whatnot. But they don't say anything in particular, but they don't give you no specifics, and they don't give you a real breakdown of any of these alleged lockups of white supremacists that they supposedly say that they're having. And immediately after In Too Deep came out, there was a hearing on, and I think it was the Senate or the Congress, where the FBI director spoke about homeland white. They call it homeland white terrorism. I think he used the word terrorism, and he said that they got as many arrests for the homeland white terrorists, the terroristic threat, than they do with the quote-unquote global Islamic jihadist extremists. They use that in very much distinction. Whenever you hear them speak, they're going to distinguish homeland terrorists. They're speaking about their people. And then whenever they're speaking about something that could potentially be your ass, extremists will be used in that sentence. Extremists is the throughway in which they could tie people in through black identity extremists. That was the tag. That's the toe tag that ties a whole group of inconspicuous citizens, to an identity or to a designation or to a targeting, because they're gonna tie it in through an Islamic throughway, because they said Islamic extremist terrorists. No, Islamic extremist jihadists. That shit is very broad. If you really want to be clear on how these people, especially in the judicial systems in which these people are carrying out these inquisitions and these crusades. So You always have to be mindful of that. You have to be very mindful of that. That these people are not the game that you think is being played. It's not the game that's being played. And tonight I have the game book. Tonight I have the game book. This, like I said, public information. It was a tweet that was put out. So I'm sharing the information with the nation because they say, man, know thy enemy. And in this book, they identify themselves as enemies of people who you and I know. So you got to study. You have to understand what's being studied. You have to understand the psyche. You have to understand the mind state. You have to understand what their master teachers are talking about. Because we know what our master teachers are talking about. But guess what? The whole world is beginning to know what our master teachers are talking about. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Do they put their master teachers on YouTube so the whole world is exposed to the thought process and the programming and the formulas and the quote unquote mind state in the way? Because remember, in order to beat somebody at chess, you have to study how that person thinks. So in order to defeat somebody in warfare, you also have to understand how that person thinks. So if you're able to have access to the blueprints in which that person is getting their programming or their code, because these people are on code. There's a group of individuals from the Nordic races, okay, from Christendom, who stand under the umbrella of what is known as Christendom. Christendom encompassing the empires of Gaul, Christendom encompassing the empires of the Germanic tribes, Christendom encompassing the empires of the Spanish crowns, Christendom encompassing the empires of the Holy Roman Empire, and others. And these people come together. It's called NATO these days. You know what I'm talking about? That is called NATO. It's called G20. It's called UN and other places. But these are the nations of Christendom. And these nations are still carrying out what was originally carried out. Because as we explained on Into Deep, and as we're going to continue to show and prove in the Great Divine Speaks Through Signs. Remember, we still inside of a black moon. The Great Divine speaks through signs. So you're able to see what's really going on because the curtains have been pulled back. So you're going to see how the doctrine of discovery, the papal bulls, meaning a pope-sanctioned Holocaust, genocide, and a global conquest in the name, right? In the name of the Roman Catholic Church, the crowns of Aragon, Castile, which are Portuguese and Spain, right? And then other crowns and whatnot, or other empires before they came what you know now as nation states. These were empires, these were kingdoms. Think Game of Thrones. Think Game of Thrones. After the Starks are taken down, the whole bloodline gets cleansed. It's the same thing that you're seeing today with Osama bin Laden's son. It's the same concept. I'm going to show you that these people follow a medieval guide, a code. And that code has been passed down to them at early ages. This is easy reading. It's nothing complex. It's braggadocio. It's white man. It's white Western male. It's what these cowboys are built from. It's the DNA of the cowboy. It's the DNA of the Viking. It's the DNA of the Roman conqueror. It's the DNA of the fucking, you know, of a Wall Street shark, of a wolf. It's the DNA of a conquistador. It's the DNA of Conan. It's the DNA of the dictator, the Iron Fist. Might is right. Thanos. You understand? Wolverine. You understand? That type of shit. What's my dude? Ultron. What's my other dude? From X-Men. What's my dude from X-Men? Apocalypse. It's that. It's the strong man. It's Donald Trump attempting to be the strong man. It's the fascination that they have with the Hitlers. It's the fascinations that they have with the Mussolinis. It's the fascinations that they have with the Cecil Rhodes. It's the fascination that they have with the Leopolds. It's the fascination that they have with the Caesars. It's the fascination that they have with all of the conquerors, all of the ones who shed blood and who killed and drank the drank the blood and ate the bodies and ate the hearts and bedded the women and pillaged the villages. You understand? The Thors, the Odins. You understand? That's why the Marvel universe tapped into that. That's why Hollywood taps into that. You'll see the archetype of the hero. You'll see the archetype of their anti-hero. You'll see the archetype of their archangel prototypes, the shit that they feed us in Hollywood. You know what I'm talking about? And we've come to accept that shit. And the disposition that the book, let me just read about. Let me not even, I'm gonna get into reading this book. I'm gonna share this book with the family. Then we're gonna build on it. If anybody in the audience have seen Hidden Colors 5, I need you to let me know if this book, this book here, this manifesto, this Bible was presented or spoken of. If not, it's all good. This is an adage. This is for research purposes only, educational purposes only, and whatnot. What I'm gonna be doing though is I'm gonna be sharing. I'm taping this on the Zoom, so I'm recording this, and this will be the video with the slides and everything. That will be available for, you know, the family who wants to purchase that. Just hit up that Cash App. You know what I'm talking about? We make that happen. So this is, you know, let me get into this thing right here. Right? There was a segment in Too Deep, right? Matter of fact, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna turn it around and let y'all see the screen, right? While I build. But I'm recording this for an actual add-on to the lecture. Let me see. Hold on, let me straighten this out. I'm gonna be doing a lot of reading, y'all. So just listen, you know, try to listen as good as you can. All right. So I showed in Too Deep that there's a hierarchy that exists in America, okay? And we're continuously, you know, it's continuously reiterated, it's continuously, what it is currently is the white at the top of this hierarchy. Not to say that somebody is on top of you and you're at the bottom. What I'm talking about is access. What I'm talking about is, you know, access to the resources, access to the resources that were taken directly from a group of people on this land, okay? Taken directly from families and clans and nations and things of that nation on not only this land, but the Caribbean and places in South America, Central America, Mexico, where your ancestors and some of your ancestors are really from or also from. And that's how they got their wealth. That's how they came up. We talked about that already, you know. So on top, you got white. Nestled right next to them, the Jewish nation, okay? Maybe even on top of white, the power that they wield, the power that they have, and the power that they've been able to maintain as a result of their solid grip on the banking system. Banking made them king. Banking made them God, not even king. The white man may be the ISSPHO, you know, what is considered to be, what is that called? A protected class, you know, a protected class. Definitely the most colorable aspect of, you know, how you could see how false or how de facto this quote unquote government is, that, you know, because of a people's sexual preference, they have a flag. And our people don't have one. And we're a whole nation. You know what I'm talking about? Niggas don't got no flag. They not flying RBG on Garvey Week from the bank that you bank with. Nigga, at your corporate headquarters. You feel me? At the flagship of the Gap. They're not running they're not waving the RBG. Gucci got the RBG. Nobody want to talk about that. So, look, thank you for the Cash App too. I appreciate that. Yeah, let's get these the Cash App is # PHILMORELAND. And like I said, this PDF, which is an e-lecture, is available. It's a study guide. You know what I'm talking about? It will help open your eyes. You are in the midst of a psychological psyop war. It intensifies on a daily basis. You understand? If people didn't watch the three-headed monster, the lecture that we did at Nicholas in Brooklyn, where we completely exposed who Ronald Reagan and who Richard Nixon was, they would be in their feelings after they heard Ronald Reagan calling black people monkeys and laughing about it, and then Nixon coming back with the rebuttal, you know, and then people are surprised. Oh my goodness, I don't believe it. Look, the Black America is in the financial, the spiritual, and the economic, amongst many other conditions that they're in today because of Reaganomics. Nobody wants to talk about that. Like, did we forget that part? You know, it went from Reaganomics to Bush. So here we have the Asian. And during these times of Reaganomics, during the times of the Clinton era, during the times of even Slick Ricky, Tricky Dicky, you know what I mean? Even during all of those times, they were putting in all of these different buffer classes or buffer nations, bringing in the people who helped them or the traders of the countries in which they invaded. You understand? The people who were basically wanting to become Americanized, the ones who, you know, double-crossed their people. They basically gave them visas, brought them over to America, set them up in communities, set them up with all kind of grants, set them up with all kind of loans, you know, gave them all kind of preference in neighborhoods, all of these things. And it was a challenge on the black workers because of the scarcity, not only in work, but the fact that people were coming in and undercutting them in their jobs for the pay that they were willing to receive, because they were coming from countries where they were getting that the stuff that the money that you were getting an hour, they were getting out a week. You understand? So a lot of friction and a lot of disruption and a lot of things begin to crumble as a result of them doing that, because the Europeans or the white people did not flood all of the immigrants into any other neighborhoods but neighborhoods where we were thriving and surviving and building, raising our children and doing other things. So here we have the Asian and the Middle Eastern and the Indian right underneath, nestled underneath the European. Then we have the Hispanic, whatever that is. That is a created, colorable, fetishized, Roman Catholic created group of people who basically mean Roman Catholics who speak Spanish, who speak with the Spanish tongue. That's what they're saying with that. Because you let all them niggas turn into Brujas and, and throw the cross away and see what happens. Then they're going to go back to Bodie Cans. They're going to start calling them the titles. You know what they say, slave name? They're not necessarily talking about your last name. They're talking about the fact that you're allowing somebody to call you a dead person, that you're allowing somebody to call you a conquered people, that you're allowing somebody to call you some shit that you're not. And here it is, these people walking around with their original names. You know what I'm talking about? Some shit that they voluntarily changed. They came over here, Adam Scrousel, all of them name changes that they did to anglicize their existence and whatnot. And, not to sound like the victim, like we were giving people names for centuries. So, but It is what it is. So then you have the black woman, and then underneath that you have my man, your man, Tyrone, the black man, the God. You know what I'm talking about? The motherfucking God, the old jizzle. You know what I mean? The capstone of the pyramid. But the capstone of the pyramid is actually upside down. You know, over here on the west, the capstone is upside down, and we're over here because the cream rises to the top. You know, but at that bottom of that hierarchy, the power of, you know, the base, the power of who we are speaks volumes to, you know, the fact that we'll be at that capstone, you know, all over again. But that's the structure that they have this thing set up in. This is the Solid South. And the Solid South is the southern states of the United States became solid. Did anybody see that the Deep South was trending on Twitter this week? I screenshotted it, but did anybody see that? And we spoke about the Deep South in the lecture a few days prior to that. But the Solid South are the southern states of the United States. They became solid behind the Democratic Party following the Civil War. Now, when we say Democratic Party, we're talking about the Democratic Party of back then, the Democrats, when it was the quote-unquote racist, when it was, well, all of them. I mean, it was the what are now known as Republicans, basically. This occurred as a reaction against the Republicans who had prosecuted the war for the North and inflicted upon the South the depredations of Reconstruction. The term Deep South is defined in a variety of ways. Most definitions include the states Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, Mississippi, Louisiana. Texas is sometimes included due to the history of slavery and as being part of the Confederate States of America. All right. So I'm going to go through all of this. I'm not going to read through all of this right now. I'm going to get right to this book. All right. This is the massacre in Wilmington, North Carolina. This is the coup d'etat. This is the turning point when you do your research. This is the only coup d'etat that took place on American soil that they're giving it credit for. This was when the white Democratic government in Wilmington, North Carolina, seized by force, by murdering, by gunplay, you know, by shotgun, by army, by mob. They seized the office of Wilmington, North Carolina, and they basically changed it overnight in a coup d'etat, which began the downward spiral, which led to Black Wall Street, which led to Rosewood and all of these things collapsing. When Wilmington falls, that's when you begin to see all of the reconstructed Black South begin to fall. That's when you begin to see the formation of what is known as the Solid South and the Deep South, but the Solid South in particular, the rise of these quote-unquote terroristic organizations. They are following a certain writing because, you know, this is in the early 1900s. This book, The Might of Right, it comes out in 1890. So, you know, people are following a certain kind of writing, a certain kind of mind state, a certain kind of philosophy, a certain kind of dictate, mind you, if you will, you know. Whatever made man hang a man and decapitate a man and disembowel a man, you know, in front of thousands of people and hundreds of people, it had to be something demonic. And a purchase after the Trail of Tears, after they basically annexed and, you know, got control of what you now know as the full United States. There were all kind of genocides that took place, you know. It was all kind of genocides that took place. This has never stopped. These bloodlines of people have continued to carry on and do what it do to make it do what it does. Right? So this is part of the lecture Into Deep. I'm just walking you through it, prefacing you before we get into this book, just to show you, because look, I don't like to give anything too much attention, especially when it doesn't deserve it. But in lieu of the fact that our good brother is releasing a documentary that's going to start a conversation, that I know knowledge and awareness and consciousness is rather empowering in times of war, because this is about information. And information is golden. Information, okay, is key. I wish I had my bomb sound effect. I'll let the motherfucker off. Information is key in the information age. So here we go. Louisiana is the world's prison capital. The state imprisons more of its people per head than any of the U.S. counterparts. First among Americans means first in the world. Louisiana's incarceration rate is nearly 5 times Iran's, 13 times China's, and 20 times Germany. The hidden engine behind the state's well-oiled princes machine is cold, hard cash. A majority of Louisiana inmates are housed for-profit facilities, which must be supplied with a constant influx of human beings, or a $182 million industry will go bankrupt. I'm just showing you that this is their for-profit. This is the work that they put in over time. This is their purge. This is demonic. This is demonic. These are your demons. This is terrorism. You understand? This is savagery. This is barbarity. This is terrorism on American soil. This is unavenged. Mob lynches Tom Owens. Thousands participate in vengeance for Nita. 15,000 saw Negro burn. Mob in Omaha lynchings Negro in attempts to hang the mayor. Okay? This is an article that came after we put out Into Deep. FBI director. This is July the 23rd, 2008 Into Deep, July the 22nd. So the next day, the FBI director, Christopher Wray, said that the majority of domestic terrorism cases are tied to white supremacy. I will say that the majority of the domestic terrorism cases that were investigated are motivated by some version of what you might call white supremacist violence. But it does include other things as well, Wray said during a Senate Judiciary meeting hearing, the Hill reports. According to Wray's testimony, the arrest began in October, which marks fiscal 2019. The FBI is aggressively investigating domestic terrorism and hate crimes, Wray said, noting that the Bureau is focused on investigating the violence, noting the ideology motivating the attacks. Oh, hold on. Not the ideology. So look, all right. This is what they say, and we know that this is not true, but they say the FBI is aggressively investigating domestic terrorism and hate crimes, Wray said, noting that the Bureau is focused on investigating the violence, not the ideology motivating the attacks. Wray distinguished between what he termed homegrown violent extremism. Remember the wording. Wording, he said, the FBI uses to refer to people in the United States who are inspired by global jihadist and domestic extremism, which Wray described as a broader to include racially motivated extremists, anarchists, and others. Okay, there goes that net. There goes that. We don't have to go what I just said. You know what I mean? That's the net in which they cast. The number of domestic terrorism arrests are on par with the amount of international terrorism cases, according to Wray, but not the local. Notice he didn't say the local. Okay. So here we have the day, what day was this, of the Garlic Fest shooter? I think the Garlic Fest shooter was the day before. Yeah, it was on Sunday. It was the day that I did the lecture, was the Garlic Fest shooting, right? Where he had on his thing about we're going to get to it. So the next day, the FBI dude is in front of the Congress. He doesn't bring this shooting up. There was an official and his wife There was somebody from the government. Look, Representative Dan Lipinski, Democrat of Illinois, said he and his wife Judy were in the crowd Sunday when the shots rang out. The shooter was not far from us as we heard the loud pops, which seemed to get closer as we ran, the congressman said in a statement. The Gilroy Garlic Festival is one of the country's best-known food festivals and has been held for 41 years. It draws hundreds of thousands of paying visitors every year. Alleged Garlic Festival gunman referenced neo-Nazi manifesto on Instagram before the shooting. That was a report. Here goes the shooter. He's a 19-year-old shooter, all right? His name is Santino William Lagan. He identifies as Italian and Iranian. 3 posts, 1 follower. Yogi the Bear. You might not be, yeah. Smokey the Bear. It said, read Might is Right by Ragnar Redbeard. Why overcrowd towns and pave more open space to make room for hordes of mestizos in Silicon Valley white twats. Okay. So here we have Marion Williamson saying that Trump is a megaphone for white nationalism. But not only did she say that, she went ahead and said this.
Crisis. My response on the Flint water crisis is that Flint is just the tip of the iceberg. I was recently in Denmark, South Carolina, where there is a lot of talk about it being the next Flint. We have an administration that has gutted the Clean Water Act. We have communities, particularly communities of color and disadvantaged communities all over this country who are suffering from environmental injustice. I assure you, I lived in Grosse Pointe. What happened in Flint would not have happened in Grosse Pointe. This is part of the dark underbelly of American society. The racism, the bigotry, and the entire conversation that we're having here tonight, if you think any of this wonkiness is going to deal with this dark psychic force of the collectivized hatred that this president is bringing up in this country, then I'm afraid that the Democrats are going to see some very dark days. We need to say it like it is. Collectivized hatred that this president is. This wonkiness is going to deal with this dark psychic force of the collectivized hatred that this president is bringing up in this country, then I'm afraid that the Democrats are going to see some very dark days. We need to say it like it is. It's bigger than Flint. It's all over this country. It's particularly people of color. It's particularly people who do not have the money to fight back. And if the Democrats don't start saying it, then why would those people feel that they're there for us? And if those people don't feel it, they won't vote for us. And Donald Trump will win.
Thank you very much, Ms. Williams.
Yeah, so she's pretty turned up, you know. She's pretty turned up. I believe that she's referenced Tone Talks and a few other people in some of her interviews, giving them credit for the research that they've been sharing with her, right? So this is the book that he was referring to called Might is Right. Survival, the other name for it is survival of the fittest, okay? Let me go ahead and just read a description of what this is about. Okay. So Redbeard, right? The Might is Right, or The Survival of the Fittest, was first published in 1890. Publication history shows us that it originated in Chicago, USA. I'm sure that you have already assumed his name, Redbeard, is a pseudonym for whom we have never really been sure. Before I even continue, the dark force that she was talking about, we talked about that on Brother Richard's channel about the dark star rising. Okay, this is the book, The Dark Star Rising. Read that book. All right, the PDF is available online. You put Dark Star Rising in PDF in Google and read on that. It talks about exactly what she's talking about, the chaos magic, the dark magic, the fact that they're tapping into the internet and the power, the dark power of the internet. And we'll get into that. You know, we'll get into that. Many have all right, boom. Many literary figures and philosophers have been thought to be Redbeard, but these theories are easily dismissed because lack of evidence. Few are worth mentioning. One name that crops up more than others is that of American novelist Jack London from 1876 to 1916. This claim does not take into account the fact that London would have been in his early teens at the time of the book's publication. Considered to be the most likely candidate of authorship is a man named Arthur Desmond, a poet with a taste for radicalism. His extreme political pursuits made him a rather infamous figure in both New Zealand and Australia. Throughout his life, Desmond wrote a number of articles and publications under false names, and although his work is out of print, a few samples of his poetry can be found online. When looking at such poems, we see that Desmond's writing style is incredibly similar to that of Redbeard. Okay. It's rather hard to tell who Redbeard takes philosophical influence from, although we can clearly see which philosophers he's opposed to. He viciously lays into Marx on several occasions, as well as a few other socialistic and egalitarian thinkers. The American founding fathers also found themselves in the firing line, not just for the belief that all are born equal, but for the belief in the concept of natural rights, which Redbeard harshly rejects. His rejection of natural rights, morality, religion, and authority suggests that he may very well have been influenced by the German egoist thinker Max Steimer, popular among anarchists at the time. Perhaps Redbeard encountered Steiner's ideas at the Dill Pickle Club. Upon reading Might is Right, one may assume that perhaps Redbeard taken influence from Friedrich Nietzsche. At the time of the work of Nietzsche was not well known outside of a few intellectual circles, making the idea of Redbeard reading him unlikely. Finally, I must mention poetry. All right, hold on. It has on occasion been said that Might is Right has influenced multiple modern tyrants and ruthless generals. Hold on. But these claims are likely nothing more than sensationalism, completely lacking source or evidence. Despite not being able to tell you the origin of these rumors, I could tell you that while researching this book a few years ago, I came across a website advertising the 2005 edition in which several of these claims were made without a single reference sources being given. In 1969, the founder of the Church of Satan, Anton LaVey, published his defining work, The Satanic Bible, in which he presents his religious philosophy. In LaVey's introduction to the Satanic Bible, a multitude of figures are credited as inspiration of his new religion. Redbeard was one of them. Unfortunately, it was not included in the latter editions of his own book, but can easily be found online. Redbeard was quoted rather heavily by LaVey, who copied whole sections of Might is Right into the first few pages of the Satanic Bible. This did not just result in moral controversy, but also accusations of plagiarism. These lifted sections have drawn much attention towards Ragnar Redbeard, whose name was well known amongst Satanists. In 1996, a centennial edition of Might is Right was released. This time it came with an introduction by Anton LaVey, who yet again attracted Satanists and curious minds towards the book. In the introduction, Levy tells readers of the impact Might is Right had on his own work and puts forward his views on the identity of the anonymous author. Neglecting to mention any dates, Levy tells us the mysterious writer was Jack London and makes the claim to have been shown London's original handwritten manuscripts in his secret collection at the University of California's Bancroft Library. All right. Let me get into it. Okay. So here's the book. Let's read some stuff. Let's get into it. It's not scary, so don't be scared. It's very basic. You know what I mean? It's white braggadocio, you know. But it's some real fucking talk. You know? You're going to understand the psyche, the Rambo psyche, the Terminator psyche, okay? So here we go. You see the 14 words. You see the symbols, okay? This is the shit that the police who are bashing people's heads in, this is what they're following, okay? Table of contents. Let me see, can y'all see it? Hold on. Give me 1 second, let me fix this up. Well, y'all just gonna have to hear it. YouTube. Chapter 1, introductory. The living forces of evil are to be found in the moral ideal of today. Chapter 2, iconoclastic. Christian ethics impeach. Jesus, the true prince of evil. That's a tongue tweezer, tongue tweezer for me. King of the slaves. Chapter 3, the spinning of the web, the ship of state, a pirate ship, all men created equal is the strident doctrine of the maniac. Chapter 4, man the carnivore, the ideal animal, a destructive warrior, not a crucified carpenter. Moral principles are slave regulations. I'm going to say that again. Moral principles are slave regulations. Chapter 5, the chief end of manhood, material success, self-preservation, the first law of nature. Hell takes the defeated ones, the failures. Chapter 6, love and women in war. Female animals love the best fighting males. Sexual selection and the necessity of unmerciful conflict. Editor's note. Okay. Fuck the editor's note. It starts out. Let me know if on YouTube, because it looks like it's buffering. So let me know if it's going straight, if y'all can see it, or is it buffering? Because the screen has a circle spinning. Talk black to me. Okay. The logic of today. Might was right when Caesar bled upon the stones of Rome. Might was right when Joshua led his hordes o'er Jordan's foam. And might was right when German troops poured down Paris gay. It's the gospel of the ancient world and the logic of today. Behind all kings and presidents, all government and law, are army corps and cannoneers to hold the world in awe. And sword-strong races own the earth and ride the conqueror's car. And liberty has never been won except by deeds of war. What are the lords of hoarded gold, the silent Semite rings? What are the plunder patriots, high pontiffs, priests, and kings? What are they but bold masterminds, best fitted for the fray, who comprehend and vanquish by the logic of today? And it is right when weaklings bleed or hunted down like game. I'm gonna repeat that. And it is right when weakling breed, sweat of today. The strong must ever rule the weak is grim primordial law. On earth's and the meek are beaten straw, then ride to power foeman's neck. Lead nothing, let nothing bar your way. If you are fit, your rule and reign is the logic of today. You must prove your right by deeds of might, of splendor and renown. If need be, march through flames of hell and dash opponents down. If need, liberty or death is still the logic of today. Might was right when Gideon led the chosen tribes of old, and might was right when Titus burnt their temple roof with gold. And might was right from Bunker's Hill to far Manila Bay. By land and flood is road and blood, the gospel of today. Nigga, it's gangster rap. Don't it sound like it? Talk black to me. Put not your trust in princes is a saying old and true. Put not your hope in governments, translateth anew. All books of law and golden rules are fashioned to betray. The survival of the strongest is the gospel of today. Might was right when Carthage flames lit up in the Punic foam, and when the naked street of Gaul weighed down the spoil of Rome. And might was right when Richmond fell, and at Thermopylae, it's the logic of the ancient world and the gospel of today. When pendant suns and millions swing around the whirling earth, it's might, it's force that holds the brakes and steers through life and death. Force governs all. When pendant suns and millions swing around this whirling earth, it's might, it's force that hold the brakes and steers through life and death. Force governs all organic life, inspires right and wrong. It's nature's plans to weed out man and test who are strong. I saw that it froze. If it freezes, I'm taping this on Zoom. I'm still recording it. You're going to have to hit me up and get a copy of this. As you can see, they don't want this getting out there, but I'm available for you through Cash App. Talk black to me. Opportunities. A man's opportunities are never exhausted so long as other men who are not his friends possess millions of acres and thousands of tons of gold. The guarded treasure halls and ironclad temples of modern kings and presidents, high priests and millionaires are positively the richest the world has ever known. Bulging are they with the vast hoards of silver and diamonds and gold. Here, then, is opportunity on a colossal scale. Here is the goal of Caesars, Nebuchadnezzars, and Napoleons in the days that are coming. All is readied and prepared for them, even as in olden times. Caesar carried off the treasures of Egypt, Greece, Gaul, and Rome. Napoleon looted the money vaults of Venice, Vienna, Madrid, Berlin, and Moscow. London only escaped him. Nebuchadnezzar plundered the temple of Zion, where the Jews kept all their deposits and drank his beer and wine out of Jehovah's pots of gold. Napoleon, Caesar, Nebuchadnezzar, these were great men, were they not? And in their greatness consisted they seized their opportunities. From Sandy Hook to London Tower, from Jaffa to Japan, they can take who can have the power, they may keep who can. This is the law of heaven and hell, stupendous and divine, the highest, holiest law of all that governs mine and thine. The law it is of sun and star, of president and pope. It is the prisoner at the bar, the gallows and the rope. It is the lawyer in his feet, the shearer in his sheep, the eagle soaring swift and free, the dreadnought on the deep. It is the bond, it is the loan, the profit and the loss, the usurer and the bullion throne, the idol of the cross. It is the Goth, it is the Hun, the tyrant and his prey, and flame and saber, club and gun, oh taxes that we pay. It is the law of all of the climes and all the things to be, and all the bold, tremendous times that you and I shall see. Okay? From Sandy Hook to London Tower, from Greenland to Japan, they will take who have the power, and they may keep who can. Now, Redbeard's review, right? This is Redbeard's review. Okay? This book was written in 1890 to see how people who are in what you call dominant society, or these shooters, these lone shooters, these are not just lone wolf shooters. These are the people who carry out the ritual. These are martyrs. These are people, the Dylan Roofs, the one who shot up Sandy Hook, the Columbine shooters. All of these people are in alignment with this manifesto. They are all in alignment. This is what radicalized them. This is what they read. This is like akin to coming into the conscious community and you watch Hidden Colors. You understand? Like, this is what that is. This is their Bible. So the Sandy Hook killing would be code word, dog whistle to all of the people who read these books and who belong to this ideology in secret. Remember, I'm revealing secrets right now. This is not for the public. This is actually private information. Okay? So this is so Sandy Hook, the Sandy Hook shooting, the one that they keep invoking with Alex Jones, Sandy Hook, Hoke, Sandy Hook, Sandy Hook, Sandy Hook. It's dog whistles. It's invoking. It's in this book right here. This is how they speak. The victor gets, you're going to see a bunch of shit when I'm reading it. You're going to see Hollywood scripts. You're going to see the archetype for all of their heroes. You're going to see all of it. You're going to see white psyche on full display. You're going to see American Psycho. You're going to see it all. Because this is the source material in which they build Hollywood. This is the source material. Me and Blue Pill, I just saw the movie that Tarantino put out with Brad Pitt and Leonardo da Vinci, my nigga. This is their fucking pet. This is their manifesto right here. This is the cowboy, the Western, the spaghetti Western, John Wayne and them, the gunslinger. You understand? Talk about, somebody said, which book? This book right here, that I'm reading from a book. I didn't write this. This is the Might is Right. This is the white power, white nationalist, whatever you want to call it. This is their whole movement. This is their book. This is their manifesto, rather. They have more than one, but this is one of their manifestos. And going through it so you can understand what's in the book. Thank you, everybody, for sending the Cash Apps, because you understand that this research takes a lot of sacrifice. You know, this research takes a lot of courage. This research takes a lot of, you know what I mean? Like, I'm on top of this. When I got into this information, when I got this information and it fell into my lap, because that's how the information works, it falls into the lap. You know, it finds you. You know, I'm at that point where the information is seeking me out. You know, and when it finds me, I gotta share it. I'm not gonna be the person to sit on the information. I've been doing that consecutively for more than a decade. So tradition, you know, carry on tradition. The victor gets the gold. Okay. Let me read this description right here in this picture that you see. This picture of this Conan-like figure. Just as fear is contagious, likewise is courage and chivalry. He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man. Kinsmen, If your folk and heritage are not worth fighting for, then I ask you, what is? The victor gets the gold. Virtue is rewarded in this world. Remember, natural law makes no false judgments. Its decisions are true and just, even when dreadful. The victor gets the gold and the land every time. He also gets the fairest maidens, the glory tributes. And why should it be otherwise? Why should the delights of life go to the failures and cowards? Why should the spoils of battle belong to the unwarlike? That would be insanity, utterly unnatural and immoral. The natural world is a world of war. The natural man is a warrior. The natural law is tooth and claw. All else is error. A condition of combat exists everywhere. We are born into perpetual conflict. It is our inheritance, even as it was the heritage of previous generations. This condition of combat may be disguised with the holy phrases of St. Francis or the soft, deceitful doctrines of a Kropotkin or Tolstoy, or I'm so bad with these names. But it cannot be eventually evaded by any human being or any tribe of human beings. It is there and it stays there, and each man, whether he will or not, has to reckon with it. It rules all things. It governs all things. It reigns over all things, and it decides all who imagine policemanized populations, internationally regulated tranquility, and state-organized industrialism so joyful, blessed, and divine. Behold the crucifix. What does it symbolize? Pallid incompetence hanging on a tree. Okay, so that's what he thinks about, you know, they throw religion completely in the garbage. Lo, I hear the fighters coming over hill and dale and plain, with battle cry of ages and a rebel world again. Who forged their swords to plowshares shall sweat in bitter yokes. The free-born race and fearless must deal out battle strokes. In the wars of the great Caesar and grim Hannibal, in the times of Balcachars and Pharaohs and all, in all the days of Rienzi and Roland the Bold, all banners were waving for women in gold. It is might against might. Remember, by land and sea, man against man, money against money, brains against brain, and everything to the winner. In this arid wilderness of steel and stone, I raise up my voice that you may hear. To the east and to the west, I beckon. To the north and to the south, I show a sign, proclaiming death to the weakling, wealth to the strong. Open your eyes that you may hear, O men of middle-wed minds, and listen to me, yea, laborious millions, for I stand forth to challenge the wisdom of the world, to interrogate the laws of man and of God. I request reasons for your golden rule and ask the why and wherefore of your 10 commandments. Before none of your printed idols do I bend and acquiesce, and he who saith thou shalt to me is my mortal foe. I demand proof over all things and accept with reservations even that which is true. I dip my forefinger in the watery blood of your impotent mad redeemer, your divine democrat, your Hebrew madman, and write over his thorn-torn brow, the true prince of evil, the king of the slaves. No hoary falsehood shall be a truth to me. No cult or dogma shall encamp my pen. I break away from all conventions, alone, untrammeled. I raise up in stern invasion the standard of strong. I gaze into the glassy eye of your fearsome Jehovah and pluck him by the beard. I uplift a broad axe and split open his worm-eaten skull. I blast out the ghastly contents of philosophic whited sculptures and laugh with sardonic wrath. Then, reaching up The festering and varnished facades of your haughtiest moral dogmas, I write thereon in letters of blazing scorn. Lo and behold, all this is fraud. I deny all things. I question all things. And yet, gather around me, O. Yea, death defiant, and the earth itself shall be thine to have and to hold. What is your civilization and progress if its only outcome is hysteria and downgoing? What is government and law if their ripened harvest are men without sap? What are religions and literatures if their grandest productions are hordes of faithful slaves? What is evolution and culture if their Dead Sea fruit is a cative race with rottenness in its bones? To be wondered that average citizens are. Oh, how is it that men of light and leading hardly ever call in question the manufactured moral codes under which our once vigorous northern race is slowly and surely eating out its heart in peaceful inaction and laborious dry rot? Standard moral principles are arbitrarily assumed by their orthodox apologists to be a fixed and unalterable quantity, and that to doubt the divine rightness of these principles is treason and sacrilege. When the greatest thinkers of a race are incapable or afraid to perform their manifest and logical function, it is scarcely to be wondered that average citizens are also somewhat unwilling to risk life, fortune, and sacred honor for the overthrow of popularized right and wrong concepts that they know from bitter personal experience are unworkable falsities. Although the average man feels in his heart that nearly all political and religious conventionalisms are dynamic deceits, yet how cautiously he avoids any open display of antagonism thereto. He has not the courage of this opinions. He is afraid to say openly what he thinks secretly. In other words, he is living in a state of subjectiveness, of vassalage. He allows his brain to be dominated and held in bondage by the brain of another. From his infancy, he has been deliberately subjected to a continuous external pressure, especially designed to coerce his understanding into strict accord with prearranged views of moral, political, or religious duty. He has not been permitted one moment of real mental liberty. He imbibed fraudulent conventionalisms with his mother's milk. He listens to the most hideous lies being glorified in his presence as sublime truths. He hears falsehoods sung in swelling chorus. He hears them sounded on bugles of silver and brass. He hears them intoned by congregations of the faithful amid peals of sacred music in the solemn roll of chanted prayer. Thus his mind is sterilized by authority before it has had the chance to mature. Thus, youth is mentally castrated, that his natural vitality may be afterwards used up in a yoke of custom, which is the yoke of slavery. In the nursery, at school, and at college, plastic brain pulp is deliberately forced into the prearranged mold. Everything that a corrupt civilization can do is done to compress the growing intellect into unnatural channels. Thus, the great mass of men who inhabit the world of today have no initiative, no originality of independence of thought, but a mere subjective individualities who have never had the slightest voice in fashioning the ideals that they formerly reserve. Although the average man has taken no part in manufacturing moral codes and statute laws, yet how he obeys them with dog-like submissiveness. He is trained to obedience, like oxen are broken to the yoke of their masters. He is a born thrall, who habituated from childhood to be governed by others. Chinese civilization deliberately distorts its children's feet by swathing them in bandages of silk and hoop iron. Christian civilizations crushes and cramps the minds of its youth by means of false philosophies, artificial moral codes, and ironclad political creeds. The subtheories of good and evil are systematically injected into our natural literatures, and gradually, without serious obstruction, they crystallize themselves into cast iron formulas, infallible constitutions, will of the wisp evangels, and other deadly epidemics. Okay? Are y'all following me? Y'all all right? Modern leaders of thought are almost wholly wanting in originality and courage. Their wisdom is foolishness. Their remedies, poison. They idiotically claim that they guide the destinies of nations, whereas in reality, they are but the flotsam and scum froth that glide smoothly down the dark stream of decadence. Thus, all the people of the earth are helpless, seeing those that lead are blind. Okay? Mankind is aweary of its sham prophets, its demagogues, and its statesmen. It crieth out for kings and heroes. It demands a nobility that cannot be hired with money, like slaves or beasts of burden. The world awaits the coming of mighty men of valor, great destroyers, destroyers of all that is vile, angels of death. We are sick unto nausea of the good Lord Jesus, terror-stricken under the executive of priests, mob, and proconsul. We are tired to death of equality. Gods are at a discount. Devils are in demand. He who would rule the coming age must be hard, cruel, and deliberately intrepid, for softness assails not successfully the idols of the multitude. Those idols must be smashed into fragments, burnt into ashes, and that cannot be done by the gospel of love. The living forces of evil are to be found in the living ideals of today. The commandments and laws and moral codes that we are called upon to reverence and obey are themselves the insidious enginery of decadence. It is moral principles that manufacture beggars. It is golden rules that glorify meekness. It is statute laws that make spaniels of men. A man may keep every one of the 10 commandments and yet remain a fool all the days of his life. He may obey every written law of the land and yet be a caitiff and a slave. He may love Jesus, delight in the golden rule, and yet continue to the hour of his death, a failure and dependent. Truly, the way to hell is by fulfilling the commandments of God. If the all-conquering race to which we belong is not to irretrievably dwindle into multitudinous nothingness, like the inferior herds it has outdistanced or enslaved, then it is essential that the Semitic spider webs, so astutely woven for ages into the brains of our chiefs, be remorselessly torn out by the very roots, even though the tearing out process be both painful and bloody. If we would retain and defend our inherited manhood, we must not permit ourselves to be forever rocked to repose with the sweet lullabies of Eastern idealisms, Too long have we been hypnotized by the occult charm of Hebrew utopianism. If we continue to obey the insidious spell that has been laid upon us, we will wake up some dread morning with the gates of hell upon earth yawning wide open to close again upon us forever. The idea of hell is in some respects a truthful conception, suggestive of actual fact. If we terrestrialize the location, there is nothing inharmonious about it. Many a race, many a tribe, and many a mighty empire has gone down into a grimly realistic shoal. It is not right and just that the vile, the base, and the degenerate, that is to say, the slave nations of the earth, should be punished pitilessly for their creeping cowardice. It is not right that they should be, as it were, fried and toasted, should swim in pools of boiling blood, or dance sweltering satanic glees with blistering feet and straining eyeballs on red-hot Saharas of gravel and sand. In actual operation, nature is cruel and merciless to men as to all other beings. Let a tribe of human animals live a rational life. Nature will smile upon them and their posterity, but let them attempt to organize an unnatural mode of existence and equality, Elysiism, and thy will be punished even to the point of extermination. All ethics, politics, and philosophies are pure assumptions, built upon assumptions. They rest on no sure basis. They are but shadowy castles in the air erected by daydreamers or by rogues upon nursery fables. It is time they were firmly planted upon an enduring foundation. This can never be accomplished until the racial mind has first been thoroughly cleansed and drastically disinfected of its depraved, alien, and demoralizing concepts of right and wrong. And no human brain can sufficient space be found for the relentless logic of hard fact until all pre-existent delusions have been finally annihilated. Half measures are to no avail. We must go down to the very roots and tear them out, even to the vast fiber. We must be like nature, hard, cruel, and relentless. Too long the dead hand has been permitted to sterilize living thought. Too long. Right and wrong, good and evil have been inverted by false prophets. Listen to this, family. This is the morality aspect, where you try to understand where's the morality. Why don't they have morality? Not realizing that there's no such thing as morality. In the days that are at hand, neither creed nor code must be accepted upon authority, human, superhuman, or divine. Morality and conventionalism are for subordinates. Religions and constitutions and all arbitrary principles, either mortal theorem, must be deliberately put to the question. No moral dogma must be taken for granted. No standard of measurement deified. There is nothing inherently sacred about moral codes. Like the wooden idols of long ago, they are all the work of human hands, and what man has made, man can destroy. Heathen of all unwisdom. The chief duty of every new age, new men, to determine success, to rend, as it were, the rusty padlocks and chains of dead custom that always prevent healthy expansion. The ideals and constitutions that they may have meant life and hope and freedom for our ancestors may now mean destruction, slavery, and dishonor to us. As environments change, No human ideal can stand if sure. Wherever, therefore, lie has built unto itself a throne. Let it be assailed without pity and without regret, for under the domination of a falsehood, no nation can permanently prosper. Let established socialisms be dethroned, rooted out, burnt, and destroyed, for they are standing menace to all true nobility of thought and action. Whatever alleged truth is proven by results to be but an empty fiction, let it be unceremoniously flung into the outer darkness among the dead gods, dead empires, dead philosophies, and other useless lumber and wreckage. The most dangerous of all enthroned lies is the holy, the sanctified, the privileged lie, the lie that everybody believes to be a model truth. It is the fruitful mother of all other popular errors and delusion. It is hydra-headed. It has 1,000 roots. It is a social cancer. That lie that is known to be a lie is half eradicated. But that lie that even intelligent persons regard as a sacred fact, the lie that has been incalculated around a mother's knee, is more dangerous to contend against than a creeping pestilence. Popular lies have ever been the most potent enemies of personal liberty. There is only one way to deal with them: cut them out to the very core, just as cancers are. Exterminate them root and branch, or they will surely eat us up. We must annihilate them, or they will us. Half and half remedies are of no avail. However, when a lie has gone too far, when it has taken up its abode in the very tissues, bones, and brains of a people, all remedies are useless. Even a lancet is of no avail. Repentance of past misdeeds cannot save decadence from extermination. The fatal bolt is shot and into the fiery furnace of wholesale slavery. In oblivion they must go, to be there righteously consumed. From their ashes, something anew, something nobler, something possibly may evolve. But even that is the merest optimistic supposition. In nature, the wages of sin is always death. Nature does not love the wrongdoer, but endeavors in every possible way to destroy him. Her curse is on the brow of the meek and lowly. Her blessings is on the very heart's blood of the strong and the brave. Only Jews and Christians and other degenerates think that rejuvenation can ever come through law and prayer. All the tears of all martyrs might just as well have never been shed. Okay, so I'm not gonna read this whole thing, right? This is the introductory. This is not even the whole. This not the lecture, bro. Okay, this is just the introductory. All right. Yes, Nimrod worship, of course. Nimrod, Odin worship. This is where I'm telling you, just in this just reading the mind state, just reading the introduction is giving me the understanding of Game of Thrones, why it was so popular, why the people were gravitating towards it, why it was so loved, why it's such a folk tale, because these stories are speaking in code. Everything is code. Everything is coming from source. So they're sourcing these stories. You know what I'm talking about? They're sourcing the stories and meshing them and putting them together and creating works of fiction. But the foundation of these fictions are known by their intelligentsia, by their conscious community, by their elitists. You know what I'm talking about? By their thinkers and knowers and doers and people who are in the arts and sciences and the occult, the unknown, in the quote unquote the lodges and things like of that nature. You know, they communicate through the arts and the sciences. You understand? This is how they communicate. This is how they keep. This is how they throw. This is how they throw their sets. This is their crypt signs. You feel? I'm gonna just read. I feel it is. I read this already. I'm gonna read a few more chapters, and then we're gonna get into some building and whatnot. Okay, let me get into a few of this. So this is them talking. This book is, right. This book is how they cure themselves of white fragility, right? This book is like how, this book is the book that they utilize, to read, to basically get their, like how they read comic books, and they do the video games now, and they cosplay. A lot of people live vicariously through the video games, the characters of the video games, fantasy characters, cartoon characters, but most notably, there were characters in novels and books and things of that nature. And this is what they tap into. That's why you have people talk about they're going online, this large white nationalism movement that is being radicalized online in these quote unquote what they call white supremacist websites, which are basically 4chan, Reddit, the Reddit chats, the dark, it's a lot of different webs. What is that? A Stormtrooper. More people know more of the sites, but what they're being introduced to is they are being introduced. I did the report in the first Into Deep about the red pill movement. All right, the MGOTW, men going their own way. All of these fragile men, all of these white men who are in despair, all of these white men who are on dope, on opium, all of these European men who are taking their lives after tours of duty, all of these white people that are dying deaths of despair. They're being radicalized, and in their radicalization, they're getting their hearts back. They're becoming, they're becoming emboldened. They're embracing a mentality and a mind state of Tyler Durden. They're embracing a mentality and a mind state of, the Reservoir Dogs. They're embracing this mentality. They've embraced it, on many occasions before that. They've embraced it since the doctrine of discovery. They've embraced it during the Reaganomics years, during the Iron Contra years, during the deep web, the deep state, when they were running drugs, when they were running rat lines, when they were running guns, when they were running body parts, when they were running organs, when they were running sex slaves, human trafficking, you name it, nuclear weapons, nuclear secrets, when they were doing all of these things on a sly, on a low, when they were dropping guns in the hood, while they were bringing crack in the hood, while they were inventing AIDS and chemical warfare and imposing it upon people in the hood, while they were injecting vaccinations and doing all kind of other things through chemical warfare to manipulate and to somewhat alter the chromosomes and the genome of the people through genetically modified foods, genetically modified vaccinations, genetically modified, all kind of biogenetic, weapons. Because if you think what's going on and to our people on the scale that is going on to them, at the rate that is going on, to the intensity that is going on, if you think that's natural and that's just something that happened by coincidence, by laying around watching the Steve Bilko show, then you're sadly mistaken. There's been an acceleration to the deterioration and the subjugation, and also the there's been an uptick, and there's been an increase, and there's been a rise in behavior by the policy enforcers, right? The fraternal order of police, for that matter, right? And the aggression and the extrajudicial killings speak in it speaks to what this book is about. It speaks to how they're using that as these Hunger Games. They're using that as a psyop. They're using that as a psychological operation to actually get them riled up, to get their White Walkers, you know, invigorated, to get their side gassed up, to get you depressed, to get you in fear, to get you in a fearful state, to put you on defense. You understand? To put you in a place where you weren't even thinking about no shit like that, but now you have to entertain those ideas and thoughts when you step out of your not even when you step out of your humble abode, not even when you step out of where you domicile, because they trying to run up in places like that. So they got us on D. They got niggas on, you know what I mean? They got us looking over our left shoulder for the ops. Right? This is unnatural. This is not unnatural. This is something that we've been going through ever since the Inquisition, ever since they've been coming down on people such as us, ever since they've been out here Messiah hunting. And you know, always on the prowl, always looking for the Messiah, the Messianic ones, the Black Messiah amongst all nations who have been responsible for overthrowing them, for basically ending their regimes. You know, the Neo, the one who the Matrix continuously tries to weed out, right? This is Agent Smith talk, you know, to some degree. This manifesto that you read right here. But I'm gonna continue, and we'll have more conversation about this whole thing when it's over. But think Game of Thrones. You understand? Think 300, Leonidas, Spartan. Think, and when I'm saying think about the writing style. Think about how these stories are written. Think about the depictions. Think Fight Club, what they were talking about, how they were on there. We don't obey. Look, no man ought to obey any contracts, written or implied, except himself has given his personal and formal adherence thereto, when in a state of mental maturity and unrestrained liberty. It is only slaves that are born into contracts, signed and sealed by their progenitors. The free man is born free, lives free, and dies free. Okay? Where did you hear that before? Who talks like that? Where you heard those conversations? It said free men should never regulate their conduct by the suggestions or dicta of others, for when they do so, they are no longer free. No man ought to obey any contract, written or implied, except he himself has given his personal and formal adherence thereto, when in a state of mental maturity and unrestrained liberty. It is only slaves that are born into contracts signed and sealed by their progenitors. The free man is born free, lives free, and dies free. Whatsoever a people, hold on, let me move something. Hold on a minute. Okay. Whatsoever a people believeth shall make it free, enslave it, or corrode its very marrow in strict accordance with natural order. Consequently, if a people place implicit faith in what philosophers teach them, they are liable to be duped. If many nations are so duped, their deception is a menace to the liberty of the world. One of Columbus' lieutenants in the West Indies captured a Carib chief by means of a subtle stratagem. The chief was invited to a feast, and when there, persuaded with honeyed words to don, while on horseback, a set of brightly polished steel manacles, it being cunningly represented to him that the irons were the regalia of sovereignty. He foolishly believed his astute flatterer, and when the chains were firmly clamped around his limbs, he was led away, to die of vermin, turning a mill in a Spanish dungeon. What those glittering manacles were to the Indian chieftain, constitutions, laws, moral codes, and Hebrew-dominated civilizations are to the nations of the earth. Indeed, under the name of progress and social evolution, mankind has been lured into faceted dungeons where it labors unceasingly and for naught in darkness, despair, and shame. Who talks nowadays of the sovereign people without a laugh of derision? And yet it was once thought to be a term full of significance. Their sovereignty is now an acknowledged sham, and their freedom a dream. The sovereign people be damned. It is clear, therefore, that the man or nation that would retain liberty or be really safe must accept no formula as final, must trust in nothing written or unwritten, living or dead, must believe neither in special Jehovahs nor weeping saviors, neither in raging devils nor in devilish philosophies, neither in ghosts nor in idols, nor in laws, nor in woman, nor in man. O threats of hell and hopes of paradise, one thing at least is certain, this life flies. One thing is certain, and all the rest is lies. The flower that once bloomed forever dies. He who saith unto himself, I must believe, I must not question, is not a man, but a mere pusillanimous mental gelding. He who believes because it has been handed down is a menial in his heart, and he who believes because it has been written is a fool in his folly. Sagacious spirits doubt all things and hold fast only to that which is demonstrably true. The rules of life are not to be found in Qurans, Bibles, decalogues, and constitutions, but rather the rules of decadence and death. The law of laws is not written in Hebrew consonants or upon tables of brass and stone, but in every man's own heart. He who obeys any standard of right and wrong, but the one set up by his own conscience, betrays himself into the hands of his enemies, who are ever laying in wait to bind him to their millstones. And generally, a man's most dangerous enemies are his neighbors. Masterful men laugh with contempt at spiritual thunders and have no occasion to dread the decisions of any human tribunal. They are above and beyond all that. Laws and regulations are only for conquered vassals. The free man does not require them. He may manufacture and post up decalogue regulations to bind and control dependents with, but he does not himself bow down before those inventions of his own hands, except as a lore. Statute books and golden rules were made to fetter slaves and fools. Very useful are they for controlling the herds of sentenced convicts who fill the factories and cultivate the fields. All moral principles, therefore, are the servitors, not the masters of the strong. Power made moral codes, and power abrogates them. A man is under no obligation to obey anything or anybody. It is only serving men that must obey, because they are caitiffs by birth, breeding, and conditioning. Morals are only required in an immoral community. That is to say, a community held in a state of conquest. Fear God, bridle the spirit, and obey the law as advice most excellent, as from a philosopher to a yokel. But when directed in all earnestness at a man of inherent might, he smiles to himself in silent scorn. Full well he knows that in actual life, the path to victory and renown does not lie. Hold on. Does not lie, but I don't know what this says. But only for those who cannot overthrow it and trample it beneath their hoops, It is not a fact that in actual life, the ballot box votes of 10 million subjective personalities. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Is everybody all right? Yeah, so this PDF is available. All right. Anybody, it's 100+ pages. It is a study guide. It is, it's another one of those classics, you know. It is notorious, universally so, that the blackest falsehoods are ever decked out in the most brilliant and gorgeous regalia. Clearly, therefore, it is the brave man's duty to regard all sacred things, all legal things, all constitutional things, all holy things with more than usual suspicion. I deny and I affirm is the countersign of material freedom. I believe and I obey is the shibboleth of serfage. Belief is a flunky, is feminine. Doubt is a creator, a master. He who denies fundamental is in triple arm clad. Indeed, he is invulnerable. On the other hand, it has been said that every belief, every philosophy has some truth in it. But so we might add has every insanity. Strong men are not deterred from pursuing their aim by anything. They go straight to the goal, and that goal is beauty, wealth, and material power. The mission, hold on. Okay, well, the rest of that book is available online. I got it right off a regular Google search. It ain't nothing special. Go and get it if you want to go read into it. It's not going to turn you into a white supremacist. You've been inundated with this formula or this code in Western culture all your life. So if you want to understand the basis behind the psyche of the people that you're dealing with, you know, when I read this, I see the videos of the police duffing niggas out. You know what I mean? It makes sense now. You know, I talked about a lot of government figures being adherents to Ayn Rand. But this might is right thing, it makes perfect sense. It helps. You could understand what Weinstein and them were doing. You could understand what Epstein was doing. You could understand what Bill Clinton and them be doing. You could understand what all of these Hillary Clinton and all of them are doing. You know, survival of the fittest, my nigga. Like, they going on third world countries and they're going on islands and plummeting, and they, you know, they're going around the world, you know, having fulfilling carnal desire. You know, they're spearheading destruction for power. Their goal is beauty, wealth, and material power. Okay. So that rhetoric, I just gave the introduction. I did not get into the book. The book is deep, bro. I'm still reading the book. I'm not finished, but I'm gonna read it front to back. I even see a lot of niggas game. A lot of people in that I've heard teach. Like I hear where they got a lot of their talk from, you know. So when I read the book, I'm looking at all of Hollywood now, and I'm understanding how people speak, you know, people communicate, and how their uh they build the same way that we are intending on building our entertainment structure, with the foundation of the teachings of our master teachers, you know. And it's not going to be bold, it's not going to be put out there. Like, the movies might not open up with a sample of Bobby talking or something that Phil is saying, but his ideology, the ideology of Sabi, is interwoven into, you know, the creative works of people of our culture. So that's what you're seeing here. These Satanists, the Church of Satan followers, the quote unquote the white power or white Aryan, or the right wing, the neo-Nazis in America, the KKK, you know, they also are, they're all reading. Remember, we're talking about being on code. The fact that they all are reading from a similar doctrine, the fact that they have identified, the fact that they have certain you know, source material, certain foundational source material, that they find that they all, like how we've all read the ISIS papers. Well, not all of us, but the majority of us, and the majority of us have read, you know, a York manual or something. You know, they have people in their ruling class, or the class that's active with a lot of the terrorism, the class that's active in a lot of the rat lines, which is criminal activity on a very high scale, this government protected. A lot of them are following the philosophies, the doctrines, and the programming of specific entities and specific teachers, master teachers, and specific philosophers. They call them philosophers, we call them master teachers. Okay? Mostly German. Okay? But this is the basis of this mostly German, majority German American society. God damn it. It's majority German. If the European immigrant, the one who's over here the most is the German. And then the Gauls and the Spaniard, you know, his influence is in South and Central. The doctrine of discovery, you know, and I could understand what these movies, why these movies mean something. I could understand what these movies mean to them now. You know, American Psycho with Christian Bale, you know, 300 with Leonidas, you know, he's not obeying any rules. He's going against, you know. Then you have this thing with this dark energy, you know, where she's evoking this dark energy. Okay. So dark energy in physical, cosmology, and astronomy, dark energy is an unknown form of energy which is hypothesized to permeate all of space, tending to accelerate the expansion of the universe. Dark energy is the most accepted hypothesis to explain the observations since the 90s, indicating that the universe is expanding at an accelerating rate. So that's dark energy. She talked about a dark force, a dark psychic force. Okay, that dark psychic force is talked about extensively in his book, Dark Star Rising. Okay, and it's a real force. It's the same force that we were talking about.
Water crisis. My response on the Flint water crisis is that Flint is just the tip of the iceberg. I was recently in Denmark, South Carolina, where there is a lot of talk about it being the next Flint. We have an administration that has gutted the Clean Water Act. We have communities, particularly, that would not have happened in Grosse Pointe. This is part of the dark underbelly of American society. The racism, the bigotry, and the entire conversation that we're having here tonight, if you think any of this wonkiness is going to deal with this dark psychic force of the collectivized hatred that this president is bringing up in this country, then I'm afraid that the Democrats are going to see some very dark days. We need to say it like it is. It's bigger than Flint. It's all over this country. It's particularly people of color. It's particularly people who...
Yeah, I'm all right, shorty. You're all right. You know, Sometimes they out there casting
One of
spells.
the most disturbing examples of heinous crimes, institutional corruption, and
Okay, this is about the Franklin child prostitution ring. Okay, we covered this. All right, this scandal led all the way to the White House. Okay, there was a homosexual prostitution ring in the White House. A lot of people came up dead. You know what I mean? All right, there was a male sex ring going down. There's a documentary called The Conspiracy of Silence. It's on YouTube. Go and watch it if you want to know more about that. All right, Boys Town was the boys. It was the group home that was involved with giving them sending them male prostitutes, male little boys, and senators, judges. They were judges. All kind of people were participating. The same story that you hear coming down, the Epstein thing, the same exact story. He got presidents and goddamn Prince Andrew and shit. You know what I mean? So we're just showing that this is something that is the culture in America, and it goes back into what this book and other people that are in this culture. This is all from In Too Deep. It's some disturbing stuff, so I'm gonna just breeze through it. But y'all should definitely go and get that lecture though. Make sure y'all check that out. The information is superb. Yeah, this is the adrenochrome. Okay. This is the adrenochrome. So yeah. Like I said, I could get into more about the book, but I'm gonna leave it right there. You know what I'm saying? I think I read, a good amount of it, you know what I'm saying? To give y'all an understanding of some of the contents of said book and just exactly where these people are getting some of their information from. We're gonna read I'm gonna read Anne Ryan's book one day and dig into that, Atlas Shrugged. I want to touch on Atlas Shrugged and some other things, but it's just a little bit of research, man. Like, I think this book is this book has a lot of there's a lot of things that's gonna come out of more research into this. And just we out here studying people because they studying us. You know what I'm talking about? They studying us. And they expect us to be limited in our understanding of who we dealing with and why they acting the way they act. And the fact that they'll never change. There's a never on that on a date when they're gonna change. It's a never. It's a perpetual never. It's February the 33rd. That you can't. It's their nature. It's their right. It's in their DNA. It's their whoever wrote that shit. It sounded like a brother wrote it, to be honest with you, and they just probably went and swagger jacked it. And you know how they do. They'll misappropriate your shit for them and whatnot. I don't know, but whoever wrote it has some. The pen game was tight. I wonder who's his publisher, but. It just showed you, there's a mentality behind these people. One that they groom in private, and then there's the surface personality, the mask. The mask. So there's more to talk about. I'm going to dive more into it. It's definitely helping me. It put on a pair of glasses and I'm seeing things on some They Live shit. It really opened up my eyes reading this book, yo. I dived into it. I just read the surface. That was the introduction. Like, I didn't even get into the first chapter. Like, let me read some crazy shit. Hold on, man. Let me see what they wrote about women. Niggas talking real greasy. But it's bars. Dude, it's bars. Like, don't get scared when I'm reading the book. Like, some shit is gonna happen. And I'm gonna read something that's gonna make you and catch Negro outrage triggers and whatnot and go into fucking spontaneous combustion. It's not gonna happen like that. It's just like Bobby said, don't let nobody scare you from doing your research. 9 times out of 10, motherfuckers is reading your books, nigga. Niggas, your lecture that they're reciting. You scared to hear it, and your ass wrote it. You know what I mean? Most of these books are ours. Most of these treatises and these ideas and these concepts, nigga, some of them come from us. And even the ones that don't come from us, who cares? If you could read comic books, you could read all their shit. You know? Real quick, we're just gonna read 2 chapters of Man the Carnivore so we could get familiar with our Viking friends. Okay? This is Man the Carnivore. Chapter 10. It has taken countless evolutionary epochs to make man what he is. The most ferocious, hirsute beast of prey that inhabits the caverns and jungles of Earth. Can his osseous mechanism and pathologic instincts be summarily extinguished or reversed merely by connecting him per an electric wire laid through the sewers of Rome to the feeble dynamos of Bethlehem and Taurus? Can his structural anatomy, intended for conflict and slaughter, be transformed in a day, a year, or even in a millions of suns? To overmaster and devour his neighbor in the reasoned effort to obtain food and booty, land, love, renown, and gold is bred into the very marrow of his bones. Let me repeat that. To overmaster and devour his neighbor in the reasoned effort to obtain food and booty, which are the women, land, love, renown, and gold is bred into the very marrows of his bones. Translation, gentrify. Therefore, all efforts made by reformers and messiahs to transfigure him into a lamb are foreordained to fathomless failure. Indeed, it would be much more reasonable of them to accept the transfiguration of a grizzly bear into a polar poodle, or propose the transformation of a bald-headed eagle into a gently cooing turtle dove. Nearly all the prophetic demigods of democracy, from Paul and Isaiah to Carlyle and Ruskin, has ever been madly screeching by the roadside, vainly endeavoring to stay the march of a world of bannered armies, striding grimly, sternly by. What are these howling prophets of evil but dogs eloquently baying at the moon? Right wheel there, right wheel, turn back, you are going to the devil, is their resounding, ear-splitting chorus. But the human flood sweeps on silently, scornfully, confident, inspired, as it were, by some overmastering instinct. We may be going to the devil, is the unspoken retort of these thundering legionaries. these nations, but even so is not the devil honest, the destroyer of deception, the disobedient one? Can you lasso the stars with a green hide lariat? Can you block the march of might with magnificent howls of declamatory despair? No, no, skyward or hellward. Man moves on and on and on. If there are barricades in his way, he must surmount them or blast them aside. If there are wild beasts ready to spring upon him, he must destroy them or they will destroy him. If the high road leads through hells, then those infernos must be besieged, assailed, and taken possession of. Aye, even if their present monarchs have to be rooted out with weapons as demonic and deadly as their own. This world is too peaceful, too acquiescent, too tame. It is a circumcised world, nay, a castrated world. It must be made fiercer before it can become grander and better and more natural. Fools indeed are they who would arrest the unfolding process with humanitarian cogliostrism and rescue the perishing mummery. Maniacs are they who would ward off the sun's blazing rays from withering souls or the blighting frost of winter from hearts that are already broken. For I doubt not, through the ages, one tremendous purpose runs, and maturing crops are ripened with the process of the suns, to be sickled down, threshed, and rolled away. Undoubtedly, the black magic of the Christ myth, I'm going to repeat that. Undoubtedly, the black magic of the Christ myth, combined with the subterranean sorcery of medieval sacerdotalism, has partially succeeded not only in sapping individual initiative, but also in suppressing in our race many of its ancestral leonine traits and superb barbarian virtues. But as yet, it has not wholly triumphed in its emasculating necromancy. No, it has not transfigured us all into teams of contented oxens and bunches of earmarked sheep, although that is its final hope. There are some of the grand old stock left alive. Few indeed are they amidst a world of slaves and swine. The lion is still the lion, although his teeth has been mostly foully filed down by abominable moral codes, his skin made scrofulous with the mange and leprosy of caged peacefulness, his paws fettered by links of slave-voted statues, and an iron collar of state officialism wound around his regal neck. Someday, sometime, he is destined to break through the vile bonds that have been cunningly laid on him, escape from the wasting decline that originates from unnatural confinement, and regain once more his primitive freedom of action. The treacherous legislators and illustrious statesmen who are now so eager to teach him the method of growing wool like sheep and how to fit his battle-scarred soldiers to a horse collar may then be sorry and sad if they have time, for he will probably chew them up. Okay, that's Man the Carnivore, right? I can't read the whole thing about man and the carnivore, but I want to read about the women real quick. Remember, when you see the police moving the way that they moving, when you see these soldiers, when you see these lone wolf gunmen and shit. Oh, here go loving women in war. This is what they're, this is what they're radicalizing Shit like that. This the shit, you know. The best fighters are the best race producers. This is the chapter, Love and Women in War, Cloth. This is the verdict of biology and the instinctive belief of the whole feminine world in general. In the molding of organic nature into all of its diverse forms, love and war, with their attendant penalties and correlated consequences, are the two most potent factors. Battle is the furnace alembic that has been consciously provided for chemically separating the animate refuse from the gold. Sexual desire is the amalgam that thereafter unites the golden particles, perpetuating for the ages and ages the selected qualities of physical beauty, vigor, bravery, endurance, or vice versa. I am convinced, writes Darwin, that natural selection has been the main but not the exclusive means of modification. The same thought has been gemmed in a more sentimental but equally suggestive setting by Dryden. Happy, happy, happy pair. None but the brave, none but the brave, none but the brave deserve the fair. Okay? They saying that they want grade A box for the bodies that they catch, nigga. That's what they saying. And they saying that they want to breed with the finest of women to create the finest of man, because they feel as the victors in war and in basically domination and in death, by putting all of your men in jail, putting all of your mother, locking niggas down, locking them up, putting them in slavery, shooting them down, hoarding them off, and all of these other things. They like, yo, that's why the black woman is seen as booty talk. She's the booty of war. They're betting that you're gonna dig them later on down the line. They're betting that you're gonna just bed them. They're betting that when they take care of the men and a few of the women and some of the children, that black women will be theirs on some, like they're portraying in their media, that it's already a fact. That's how it's portrayed already, that they got you, that you're vassals, that they got, that they dominate, you know what I mean? That they're fucking that there's no love, that they, it's balls deep on y'all. Like you are a vassal, like you're a slave. That's how they manhandle black women. You know what I'm talking about? That's how we see them treat black women in their pornography. That's how we see them treat black women in their movies and whatnot. They're not handling you in no gentle kind of way. In Olivia Pope and Halle Berry with Monster Ball, you're being dominated. You're being fucking slave. You're being handled like they handle Lupita. It's all fetishing. It's all about might is right. It's all about conquering. It ain't about love. What the fuck is wrong with you? You know what I mean? Ask your Snow King right now. Go ahead. It's about the domination factor. You know what I'm talking about? It's the spoils of war. That's what this is. It's the spoils of war. It gives them an erection. It makes them feel more dominant, more manly. It cures their fragility by being with you, because they're standing on the skulls of the African god Hiram Abiff. They're standing on the skulls of a whole nation in America. They know that they're standing on the skulls of millions of Aboriginal and indigenous copper tone complexion American people, nations that were exterminated. And also the skulls of the slaves and other people. Let me read. Even Solomon, the hoary old kingling, chanted it in characteristic oriental strophes. Love is stronger than death. The coals thereof are coals of fire, which hath a most vehement flame. Many waters cannot quench love, neither can the flood drown it. Jealousy is as cruel as the grave. Fighting is the method whereby the most fitted to propagate conclusively prove the fact. Animals, plants, birds, reptiles, and fishes all exist in surroundings of unending sex rivalry and warfare. So do men. Organic life is one ceaseless round of love and war. Sexualism and slaughter go hand in hand. Bacteria butchers bacteria. Germ wars with germ. Shark eats the shark. Tigers struggle with tigers. The lion rends lion. Eagle kills eagle, and man fights man for the favor of the female or the plunder of the vanquished. Peace on earth and mercy mild is mere lunacy babblement. Even sheep, the most Christly of animals, wage tremendous duels in due season. There is no other earthly passion so fiercely, savagely egotistic as sexual desire, and it is the physical basis of all human love, even the most ethereal and romantic. Now, he's on to something, because that's the shit that I talk about. I say that, I've said that on many occasions, that this whole theater is about love. It is about the natural attraction. It's about fornication. It's about the natural attraction between the male principle and the female principle, and thus the procreation of it. At its base, at its primal base, when you tear every single thing apart of morals, rules, laws, clothes, whatever the hell, religions, all of that, at the base of it, it's somebody trying to bust some, you know what I mean, trying to bust something wide open, you know, and connect back into what you heard or what you were told is the one. Where else in your every waking, breathing life of your waking life can you, if unless you on some heavy barbiturates or pharmacopoeia, when else can you feel like you are one? What they call is the most high. Nigga, that's in some box. It better be some good box too, because you could slide into that graveyard, you know what I'm talking about, and feel like shit, like you in Dante's Inferno. But you know what I'm talking about. When you tap into that you know, that the heaven's gates, as Dr. Ben called it. When you walk through heaven's gates and you tap in and you enter her courts and you connect with something that's greater than you, and both of y'all are in eternal bliss for about, you know, it depends. It could be from 30 seconds and on to 3 hours, you know. You could be in eternal bliss. It could feel like a forever. So I'm not saying that that's what they're talking about here, but, you know, let me continue to read. I could have read this in my, I reckon, I could have read this in my, rapping Duke voice, but I decided not to. You know what I'm talking about? We're not going to do that right now. All right. Topinard explains how sexualism operates among vertebrates of the deep. The male sea bear arrive at the Falkland Islands in November and scatter out along the beach. In December, the females arrive, and immediately violent battles are being fought in all directions for their possession. Family life follows exactly as among humans. If the females behave badly, the male chastises them. They crouch at his feet, seen to beg his pardon, and shed copious tears. At times, the male and female weep together. This is the sheep. This is the I'm not talking about regular people. I'm talking about the sea bear. It says family life follows exactly as among humans do. If the females behave badly, the male chastises them. They crouch at his feet, seen to beg his pardon, and shed copious tears. At times, the male and the female weep together. A geographer and naturalist of world repute, A.R. Wallace, proclaims a series of similar facts, facts that are not new to observant minds. Among the higher animals is a very general fact that the males fight together for the possession of the females. This leads to the stronger or better armed males becoming the parents of the next generation, which inherits the peculiarities of the parents. And thus vigor and offensive weapons are continually increased in the males, resulting in the strength and horns of the bull, the tusks and shields of the boar, the antlers and fleetness of the stag, and the spurs and fighting instinct of the gamecock. But almost all male animals fight together, though not specially armed. Even hares, moles, squirrels, and beavers fight to the death. The same rule applies to all male birds. From this very general phenomenon, there necessarily results a form of natural selection, which increases the vigor and fighting power of the male animal, the weaker being either killed, wounded, or driven away, as among men. In his Descent of Men, Darwin makes a similar general statement. With social animals, the young males have to pass through many a contest before they win a female, and the older males have to retain their females by renewed battles. They have also, as in the case of mankind, to defend their females as well as their young from enemies of all kinds, and to hunt for their joint subsistence. Are we fighting for ours from enemies of all kinds? Are we hunting for our joint subsistence, lion kings and queens out there? All of my Beyoncés? Huh? Shout out to the Beehive. Are you out there hunting with your king for subsistence? And do you feel protected from enemies of all kind? Are you running around in other tribes? Beyonce? You ain't over here with Simba and us? Oh, you fucking with the Mufasas? Okay. Well, goddamn it then. Oh, you fucking with the Scars? All right. Oh, you want to be over there. And the hyena with the, oh, you going to be with the hyenas? Oh, you chilling with jackals now. Okay. Oh, that's your choice. Oh, you hanging out with the vultures. Oh, ain't that cute? Well, we're gonna see. You know, we're gonna see if you're gonna sit on the throne after decisions like that. You know, because you got to be amongst your tribe. You got to be amongst your tribe. You don't share the nature of every single other tribe. Among the vertebrates, the king of the herd selects himself by battle prowess upon the same general principles that induced Napoleon to place the Iron Crown upon his own brow with his own hand. All the regal houses of the world have been founded by fighting men and upheld by fighting men, just as in the brute creation. The chief recommendation to both animal and human chieftainship is fighting capacity. You saw Black Panther. The common herd instinctively feels that a good fighter possesses all the requisite virtues and good leadership, and leadership is exactly what they want. By conquest alone can an animal king be deposed, and his vanquisher is always his successor. As long as his sight, hearing, strength, and courage endures, he is absolute lord, judge, procreator, and chief, but not one moment longer. The king's dead, long live the king, is a biological affirmative. That is the natural order. The unnatural order is to appoint feeble but eloquent rhetoricians as chief magistrates or constitutional kinglings. This latter plan is adopted only by human swarms and eras of senility and wholesale decadence. Translation. Translation. You saw Game of Thrones, right? And Game of Thrones, right? The king is dead. The king is dead. They killed the king. They killed Ed Starks. They beheaded him. And immediately they crowned Jeffrey, I think. They crowned Jeffrey and the Lannisters as the new rulers. Then they took Stanza immediately and married her out to Jeffrey, right? So he received the spoils of that conquest. You understand? He basically received the daughter of the king who he slayed as a prize, because the women are the booty in war. Okay? The women's are the booty at war. And that's who they're aiming for. So black women, you're going to be put out there as, you're already being put out there. There's no you're going to be. You're being dangled in front of white America as the booty of war. You know, they're dangling you. You know, you're being dangled in front of Trump supporters. You're being dangled in front of these soldiers and whatnot. They're dangling you all over the deep web and the dark web and places where people go to watch women fornicate and dangle. You know what I mean? While you dangle from poles and dangle from bedposts and whatnot, and dangle from shower rods like Mimi Force, these Vikings, these Romans, these neo-Nazis, these barbarians, you know what I'm saying? These men who really they don't want to bed you in a more, in like a in a romantic kind of way, where because they know that that ain't, through history it's never been that. So but they still fetish, they still lust. Every time a black man is shot, a black woman goes home with a white man. I said this on occasion. I said this on I think it was Melanin Monday, 2 Melanin Mondays ago. I'm like, damn, why is it that the more black men started getting shot down and clapped up, that I started seeing the swirling just start to increase? The shit picked up. But the way that the psyops is being put out there, the way that is the way that it's being brought, the way that it's being manipulated, and the way that it's being shown to the family that's out there, the unsuspecting family, the profane, the what we would call the masses and whatnot, even people who are considered to be woke, they don't realize the psyops behind it. They don't realize that it's a fear campaign. They don't realize that they're being basically manipulated to live in fear. They're being there's an aggressive campaign being launched. There's a might is right campaign. There's a counterinsurgents. They were getting beat up before. They were getting their asses handed to them. Paperwork was shutting them down. People who had knowledge of the law, people who were standing on their sovereign square, who were speaking as sovereigns and not as slaves, who were denying that they were slaves, who were showing proof that they're not slaves by way of bloodline. because this thing is about bloodshed and bloodline. Don't ever get it fucked up. You know what I'm talking about? You might not be of the understanding. You might not be of the belief. You might not be able to fathom the fact that there are still royal bloodlines that exist and that walk this continent, North America. You know what I'm talking about? Turtle Island. That there's still sovereign families. They, once the empires in the Al-Andalus, once the empires fell in Spain after the defeat of the Moors, and they wrote up what is known as the Doctrine of Discovery, they went on a campaign to recover the booty of war. You understand? When they went to them islands, they was coming on them islands like, yo, we already beat your OGs. We beat we beat the empire. Like, come and give us all of this shit. And here, rock this cross. You don't want to rock this cross? Yo, set up the gallows. You know what I'm saying? Set up the auto de fe. We're gonna have a bonfire. Where's the chief? Take me to your leader. I was in the Metropolitan Museum on Tuesday, I think, right? They have a display in the Metropolitan Museum where they show armor. It's a whole room of armor and coats of arms, right? This is the European showing off his weapons of mass destruction. It's the whole Roman section that they got. The Greek, they went in on that section. They got that shit looking like real Game of Thrones-ish. They got a whole wing of all conquested shit, all of the riches and everything. Then there's this humongous room where they have horses. They have they got the ironclad horses. The horses got whole armors on them. I'm talking about the shit decked out. The shit got fuck what Little Nas X talking about. Nigga, these horses is really on the old time road. These niggas had all armor on. Then it had the soldier, the ironclad knight, right? All iron, looking like Iron Man. Looking like Iron Man on an iron horse. And then they had the foot soldiers who had the lancers and whatnot. And they had they had a fucking gold. They had like a brass, a whole brass. First is the chainmail, right? First the chainmail. Then they have the iron suit. So these people are walking off of ships in places like the Dominican Republic. They're in the Caribbean. They're in what is known as paradise. These places that are paradise now that niggas be going on Expedia flights to, they were more paradise then. Mexico was a land of gold. Mexico included California, Oregon. I just showed that in the Into Deep lecture. All facts. Okay, I'll probably even show it in a minute. But Mexico was humongous. Cities of gold. Peru, cities of silver, cities of gold. Machu Picchu and everything. Montezuma. You feel me? St. Louis, Detroit. I was watching a video by the Duke of Tears, and he showed a picture of St. Louis, and it looked like paradise. It was palatial. When they burnt down Atlanta, during the Civil War, it was said that they burnt down palatial estates. They burnt mosques, jids, and all kind of domes and high-level architecture down. When they burnt down places in Mexico, they burnt down big boy shit, and then they built those in every place where they put a square in the middle of the town, and then they put their church there and whatnot, and then they start, but anyway, these same people exist today. Nothing changed. If you niggas is claiming Ancestry.com and the gods have woken up inside of you, well, guess what? The White Walkers done woke up inside of these motherfuckers. You know what I'm talking about? And they're trying to relive what is known as medieval lore. They're tapping into their medieval place. They're tapping into their dark age self. They're tapping into their dark star rising. They're tapping into their dark magic. They're tapping into their Wiccan selves. They're tapping into their Gothic selves. Their Visigoth, Ostrogoth, Austrian / Castilian / Aragon / Holy Roman Catholic Holy See cells. That's what they're tapping into. That's what the music that they're listening to is tapping into. That's what this online movement that they got going super strong with Stormwatcher and all of these people are that are being radicalized. It's shit like that. And you're the Saracen. You are the Moor. You're the Muslim horde. You're the Muslim. You're the Saracen. You are Hannibal. You understand? You are the Carthaginian. You are to be subdued. You are to be stomped out. You are to be held down, and the women are to be taken from you. That's how they moving. That's what they moving with. I'm reading it for you. There's no apologies to what the fuck it is that they're trying to put out there. Like, look, nigga, may the strongest win. And you niggas is, and we got our people talking about, let's say, a prayer. We should forgive them, trust them, give them another chance. Biggie, give me one more chance. No, nigga, this is something there's nothing to trust. You better focus on trusting yourselves. You better focus, you better take that energy and time onto internal trust, trusting you. You have no time, you can spare no energy, or you can't waste any more of our precious time trying to convince us of the trustworthiness of people who are inherently untrustworthy. And they have a purpose that dominates your measly purpose. And they're looking at your purpose as some meek, feeble-minded, meek muckery. That they've continuously shown you over time immemorial that they will crush and they will subdue and they will fucking step on and then piss on. You understand? That's all they've shown you. That's all they've shown you. You went into this shit with morality and they didn't. You're going into this shit as a good Christian and they're going into it as a good Satanist. But when you understand the sciences, when you understand the fact that they're basically just balancing both, they're basically balancing the scales. They're you know, their version of the dark arts can only be Satanism. But as a melanated mystic, you have not embraced your occult. You not have embraced your dark matter. Your dark matter don't matter, nigga. Your dark matter don't matter. Maybe your Black Lives Matter, but your dark matter don't matter. Your dark magic don't matter. You're not tapping in. You're not tapping in. You niggas didn't win the fucking Mega Millions. Niggas ain't tapping in. Don't talk to me. You ain't win the Mega Millions. The fucking Zimmerman is still out here urinating on young women. You know what I'm talking about? You ain't doing nothing. Niggas get into African traditional systems for revenge porn reasons, trying to get back at they scorned lovers and dumb shit like that, or trying to take somebody from somebody, and you know, all of that nigga shit, all of that dumb shit. Niggas ain't getting together like some superheroes. I see you niggas walking around in a lot of tight clothes, but you niggas ain't getting together like some superheroes. You ain't tapping into that magic. You ain't tapping into your powers as a collective. You niggas is wearing jeggings and whatnot, but you ain't wearing no capes. Let's just read a few things about this love and war type shit. You know what I mean? Because they know they could kill black men. They could get rid of niggas. There's going to be a group of women that's rolling with them. And I'm not indicting nobody. I'm not saying that the black man don't ride for the black woman ain't riding for the black man. But nigga, it's a hot girl summer. These chicks said they got a price tag. Fuck is you talking about? That alleviated the whole conversation. They said it's a price. So if there's a price, my nigga, then she can be bought and sold. So you will never find another love like this before. You're not going to find somebody that's going to roll with you. You're not going to find somebody that's going to be honorable. You're not going to find somebody who's going to make sure that, you know, that doesn't happen. They just go to the highest bidder. They looking for a bag, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? And the whole world knows that at this point. That's common knowledge around the world. That's common knowledge around the world.
Water.
It ain't no fucking secret. It ain't no secret. That slick shit that they talking about, they standing on that. They like, yo, the women around the world, we conquered them. We could do whatever we want to do with them. And they've done that on occasion after they showing you that. Look at all of the goddamn kidnapped women out there. Where they went? What happened to them? Who you think got them? I know it ain't no black men. You know what I'm saying? I know it ain't no black men. It ain't no secret society, a bunch of niggas that got women in their basement or their dungeons. So who might it be? Who's holding all of these bodies? Yeah. So we're gonna leave it at that. We're gonna leave it at that. You know, I feel a little more familiar with these people who seem to know a lot about us, yet we don't know who they are because it's an invisible empire. It's a secret society for real. You know, but we know that that society is ever evasive, and we know that that society is ever active, and it's pervasive, and it's crossed over into our safety net, into our well-being, into our free space. You know? Into our free space. So there's things that we need to do to, you know, be aware. Because awareness is power. You're not going to get caught off guard with the shenanigans and the actions and the barbarity of these people once you understand who they are. You're not going to be all in your feelings because the image of Caesar Bourgeois is like Earl Simmons on the second DMX covered in blood. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to lose your bearing when you see that this motherfucker got fangs coming out of their mouth. When they peel back that face and you see a skull. Because that's what they doing to our people right now. Because niggas wasn't ready. The link to the PDF, the link is Cash App. Send $20 to PHILMORELAND and you will all receive your PDF. This PDF is, let me see, you want to look through the PDF real quick? This PDF is a lot of pages. Yeah. This is a lot of information. So what I'm doing now, as I'm taking my intellectual property a lot more serious, and I'm doing a lot of post-development, taking a lot of classic works and doing things with the new technology and the tools that I have available to me now by way of, you know, just investing in a lot of stuff. I'm just redoing a lot of things, you know what I mean? I'm diving into a lot of my old classics, and I'm like, yo, this shit was monumental. Like I was out here prophesizing. So we are revisiting and we are revising a lot of the classic works. But this is the Into Deep lecture. This is the classic works, you know what I'm saying? This goes very deep, you know what I mean? This gets very in detail about everything that's going on. This gives you a great outlook about who you're dealing with, who these people are. Just so you know, like I said, there's a lot of distractions out there. This is not going to make you richer. This is not going to help you with your core issues. This is not going to probably unlock your pineal. This is not going to help you get off of child support. But if you are an investigator such as myself, I am a deep mind. I go into deep. I deep dive. I'm a deep diver. I go to the bottom of the ocean when it's time to do research. I completely like to silver surf my way through all of the details. I'm a Scorpion. I'm obsessive about certain things, dealing with information and investigation and breaking codes and cracking and making breakthroughs and cracking and shattering the veil. That's my job. That's my gift. That's one of my talents, that I'm wielding that sword gracefully. You feel me? So that might it might not mean nothing to you, but this is a form of my research. I go in, I dig deep, you know what I'm saying? And I leave no stone unturned. And I'm going to give you the raw, I'm going to give you the uncomfortable, along with some of the comfortable. We're going to raise questions. We're going to ask questions. We're going to tie in some of the dots, But everything that, there go Ed Buck. Everything that you need to really know about who these people are, it's out there.
Well, tonight, federal prosecutors want to hear from anybody who has any information at all about Jeffrey Epstein and the people who hung around Jeffrey Epstein, which may involve 2 U.S. presidents. More on that in just a little bit. This case is about a scheme to traffic young women or girls for sex. They were conned, they were manipulated, they were even raped. That is what federal prosecutors allege. And listen to how serious they are in their efforts to find out what really happened to these victims. They are asking tonight anybody who's listening to the sound of my voice, who flew on the Lolita Express, yes, that's the name given to Epstein's private jet, to contact the FBI.
Was that any of y'all? Anybody flew on the jet?
Here's the message, in fact, the prosecutors and those tied to the investigation are sending to those men. Quote, "You would much rather be visiting the Department of Justice and engaging a conversation about what you saw rather than making the DOJ find you. In other words, come tell us what you know before we find out what you know." Wow. Not everyone who traveled on the Lolita Express hung around with Epstein or visited his homes in Florida and New York is a suspect, by the way. We should make that clear. But the list is impressive, and it may be the focus of a federal investigation. Here it is. President Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. Hollywood stars Kevin Spacey and Chris Tucker. Billionaire sports owner Ron Burkle. Former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers. Famed O.J. Simpson lawyer Alan Dershowitz. Renowned author and psychologist Steven Pinker. Also appearing in the media reports is top model Naomi Campbell. You see him there. We gave them to you from left to right, in that order. Now, let's talk about this. As for Presidents Clinton and Trump, both men are now trying to distance themselves from Epstein. But it may not be that easy. By the way, last night, the great majority of you reached out to us. I was sitting there talking to you all morning because you were reaching out, and you thanked us for our detailed explanation of the Epstein case, and we appreciate that. But of course, many of you also wrote to me to attack or defend Mr. Trump or Mr. Clinton because, like way too many stories in our country right now, everybody seems to see these stories through the prism of their politics. So let me simply share with you what we know from what is being reported about both of these men. Let's start with Mr. Clinton. He says that he cut off contact with Mr. Epstein years ago and only flew on his plane 4 times. That's his official response. However, that does not reconcile with the flight logs collected by both the Daily Beast and Gawker that shows that Mr. Clinton was on 26 international flights and 1 domestic flight between Miami and New York. What gives? Now, like...
So Epstein might come up dead soon. He knows too much.
And then Trump says something else into Epstein's ear that makes him double over with laughter. But as the president says now, she was abused by sex offender Jeffrey Epstein while he was on work release as part of his 2007 plea deal. So that sweetheart deal had him offending again. A lawyer representing Epstein accusers said yesterday that the wealthy financier who was allowed to have visitors while he was supposed to be working during the 13-month sentence took advantage of the arrangement to engage in improper sexual contact, but added that the new accusers may not have been minors.
He was in his office most of the day, and what I can tell you is he had visitors, female visitors. I don't know that any of them were underage. And the female visitors were there not for business. What he did on a daily basis is engage in these types of sex acts with young adults and children. What he did to make his money, I don't know. What he did legitimately outside of engaging in these sexual misdeeds, I don't know. Nor do any of the witnesses that we have ever deposed.
So many.
Yeah, so it's just a lot of information. We could be here all night. You know what I mean? Deep web information, dark web information, the deep mind, that information, artificial intelligence, facial recognition, stuff like that. Yeah, so you know about deep fakes, how they can make they can put somebody's face on another person's face. Deep fakes. You gotta get a hand on deep fakes, you know. Yeah, so you know, that's a glimpse of the material that's available for the researchers, the students that are out there, KTL University. On KTL University, it's going to be a full library. It's going to be stocked with all of these PDFs that we have. It'll be you'll be able to go there and do your research. You'll have access as a member to all of the lectures, you know what I mean? All of the classics, even the, you know, we're going to have it to where the lectures are organic, you know what I mean? The lectures those are my babies, you know what I mean? But they're organic, meaning that they have a life of their own. So we have to revisit all of them because they've all grown, you know. You know when you say plant a seed, you know what I mean? And that seed will grow. Well, the lectures that I did over the decade are seeds. So it's time to go and pick the fruit off of this tree. You know, don't play this harp. What harp? Yeah. So that's what it is. I'm gonna go and see Hidden Colors, and I'll go ahead and, you know, come back and I'll speak on it. Mainly because I think it's of utmost importance. I'm going to juxtapose just what I read tonight. You know, just the basic introduction and a few passages about, you know, how these, what this book is implicating. And then I'm going to compare it to what I see in a documentary and what our brothers are talking about, you know what I mean, and our sisters. And, you know, where they stand in regards to warfare and war. You know, I want to know. You know, I'm interested. I'm intrigued at this point. You know, I want to study what they're studying, right? Oh, somebody said that it was dope. They saw it tonight. That's what's up. So I'm going to go in there with this information. Somebody said Hidden Colors was banned in the UK. If you prove that, let me see the article if that's the truth. I never heard that. I would have thought that would have been on social media a long time ago if that was the case. You feel me? You know. And keep in mind my disclaimer. I'm not giving out this information to induce any kind of fear, any kind of fear mongering. I don't need you to talk about your fear in me. I don't need to talk not I mean I don't need nobody to talk about their fear for me. I don't need nobody to talk about that they are in fear because of um because of what I exposed tonight or what I read tonight. Like, don't take it serious. It's not that serious. You know what I'm saying? It's a book. And as you can see, this shit was a book of rhymes, my nigga. Like, it's a fucking rhyme book. Shit started out like a rhyme book, nigga. Like, niggas got bars. Whoever the fuck, whoever put that together. You know what I'm talking about? So, somebody said Tyreek had got stopped at LAX. Check his IG. We'll go check his IG. I hope the brother's good. You know what I mean? It would not surprise me if, you know, somebody made it aware that they know who he is. He's a very identifiable figure at this point. If I get identified everywhere that I go, I can imagine his visibility. You know what I mean? So he's one of the he's of a rare breed of filmmakers. Remember, their Achilles heel is film. Their Achilles heel is really like Hollywood type shit. Like, you could strike a blow through music, film, through the art, through a book, through arts and sciences, right? But you can log, you could split, you know, their world in half at this point, nigga, through film. Through film. Okay, they stopped them from going to the UK. Damn. Well, we going to the UK in October. I guess this is a great time to say that. October 4th to the 7th, we are making a trek to the UK, red and blue. All right. And, you know, make sure the ancestors paved the way and open up the way and get us across the pond so we could do our work, you know what I mean? So we could get on that 007 wave and tap in, you know. But stay tuned for further information about that. That's not, you know, I'm just throwing that out there as positive energy to make sure that the brother is allowed to leave the United States to go to the UK to promote his film, because everybody has a right. That's an inalienable right. You know what I mean? Especially if you're not a vassal, you know. You can't allow anybody to stop you, especially if you're in your proper persona, you know. That doesn't even happen, you know what I mean? Like, you can't be denied entry into any border. That ultimately is the aspiration for many people, maybe not all people, but people that I know, people that I conversate with, you know, that's their conversation. Like, what to do unapologetically on some might is right type shit. Because I promise you, and I want you to review this. Go ahead, this video. It's not all that. It ain't like it's super deep. You know what I mean? Listen to what I was reading, or like you could go online and and read it yourself. But the principles that was being described in the psyche of the author had many parallels to the psyche of authors of a lot of rhymes. Okay? It sounded very similar to the psyche of authors of a lot of rhymes that I've heard. So there's no coincidence that politicians and certain people of power or certain people of white power and other people in Hollywood and film, they get along with rappers. They love them some rappers, you know, because they can relate to them. They're very relatable, especially the shit that they talk about in their thought form and the similarities that it has to these colonizers and the similarities that it has to these trappers. These are the descendant of trappers. These are the descendant of planters. These are the descendant of smugglers. These are the descendants of traffickers. These are the descendant of robber barons. You know what I'm talking about? These are the descendant of slaves, my nigga. Some of these people are descendants of, you know, like peasants. You know what I'm talking about? So it's something to really think about. It's something to really think about. I'm going to continue to read the book, but the book is very, I don't, you know, I'm reading it and I'm seeing how Europeans, how they are applying it to how they move. Maybe not in public like that, but definitely how they're moving. You know, you got to get into Atlas Shrugged. You could get into this, you know, you could get into some other stuff. But if you don't know what they're reading, if you don't know what they're learning, if you don't know the psyche behind certain things, you don't know the society in which you exist in. You don't know your matrix. You don't know what the fuck is going on and how to unlock from that shit and how to decode it and how to, you know, take away the power that it has over you. You know, you have to unlock the key. So, I'm just seeing things for what they are, bro. Yeah. Shout out to Empress B444 in the building. Y'all give us some fires, yo, because she was holding it down. I wasn't even able to read nothing. I just was going in OD mode. But she was holding it down. I appreciate you. You know, shout out to everybody in the building tonight. I appreciate every single one of you. You know what I mean? If there was even an existent troll, I'm not speaking one into existence, but if one managed to slip in, I appreciate you too, because your trolling got me rolling. You know what I'm talking about? You know, look, it's the dark star rising. You know what I'm saying? It's just the stew. You know, it's God particles flying through this shit. We need, you know, everything is represented in this mosaic. So, you know, I didn't do roll call tonight, but I know that the globe is in the building. Let's do roll call. Why not? You know what I mean? I ain't gonna let it. I'm not gonna let it pass. Let's see who's in the building, so I could give you know, we could crisscross all of these strings and tie the network together, so we know that globally we are here. Harlem is in the building. New Orleans, Virgin Island. You see how that works? Harlem, New Orleans, Virgin Islands. The family's from Virgin Islands. You know, I'm in Harlem is, you know, where the kingdom is. You know, New Orleans is where the magic is. You know what I'm talking about? VA is in the building. South Central, Jamaica is in the building. You know, LA is in the building. Florida is in the building. AZ is in the building. San Diego's in the building. Seattle's in the building. California's in the building. New Jersey's in the building. Virgin Islands is in the building. North Carolina, Texas is in the building. Look, keep in mind, every single state that's in the building, North Carolina's in the building, Nola's in the building, everywhere, the information that we're giving out pertains directly to where everybody is that's on this call or on this stream tonight. That's a fact. because I'm talking about the South, right? I'm talking about the UK is in the building, you know. I'm talking about the people who came from the UK, right? Who came from Europe, right? Who came into the Americas. Tulsa, Oklahoma's in the building. We talking about Black Wall Street. Georgia's in the building. We talking about the South. You know what I'm talking about? PA's in the building. Decatur, Georgia's in the building. Allegheny, you know, PA with the tribes, with the land that our people own. Everybody is here, supposed to be here. All of this information pertains because it's all multifaceted. You know, this white is right thing all up in Canada. You know what I'm saying? This is the mentality. This is their philosophy. This is the stuff that they're in these lodges learning. This is what they're in fraternities learning. This is what they're in corporate America learning. This is what they're learning amongst each other. This is the literature. Alexandria. Now, Alexandria is the home of what I'm talking about. Alexandria, VA is the headquarters. Alexandria, like Alexander the Great. You know what I'm talking about? That's the home of that shit that we're talking about. That's where it emanates from. Florida, land of flowers, where the Seminole Wars 1, 2, and 3 took place, where they got their asses handed to them. A territory that when they took over, it was, you know, it was almost the completion of that manifest destiny and that expansion and whatnot. But it was that's indigenous land. That's why the people who live there right now is still on the indigenous shit. You know what I'm talking about? Living with the locks, with the golds in their mouth. We had all gold back in Florida, land of flowers, before the invasions. We was dripping in gold. What you talking about? They had people had locks down to the floor with mad tattoos in their face, fully blinging. I'm talking about gold-plated, gold teeth, gold crowns, gold arm bracelets, everything, solid gold. Like, that's a fact. You need to do your research. You know, we had it lit. The whole Everglades, it was paradise. The land of flowers. That's Florida, the land of flowers. You know, the Europeans or the USA did not have Florida until later in the game. That's a magical land. There's pieces of Africa underneath Florida. Go and Google it. There's pieces of actual Africa. There's flora, meaning there's plant life that you can only find on a continent. And there's pieces, there's chunks of the continent underneath Africa, underneath Florida. So it's underneath Florida, it's underneath Georgia, it's underneath Alabama, and then you have the Moors talking about the Nile being the Mississippi and all of the correlations between that. Then you got to understand where you at. You got to understand we're all on Turtle Island. We're all on Northwest Mexum. But this can still be, you know, this is not what you think. This is not USA. It's bigger than that. It's not just USA. You know, it's not just USA. It just was called USA in the 1700s. So what the fuck was it before that? And then as you see with the acquisitions that created what is known as the United States of America with the Louisiana Purchase and all of these other land grabs, prior to that, this was not part of a collection like that. So what was it? What was it then? New Morocco, you know, Al-Andalus. There's so many. I know that in the upper New York region, where they call it the Hamptons now, with the Montauk Indians with the surname Pharaoh, where they had the pyramids up there. You know what I'm talking about? It's so much stuff about this land that a lot of people. That's why we have to get together. I can't wait till we all have the opportunity to conversate. Me just talking to hundreds of people and not having nobody to talk back to me. That's incapacitated. That's handicapping the whole fucking communications. Do you understand? Imagine if we were all able to have a voice, you know, not at once, But imagine if we were all, if these hundreds of people that are here right now, you know what I mean, and the thousands of people that would be here tomorrow and in the future, you know, imagine if there was ways where, and it will come to pass. We speak it into existence, and technology upgrades. It's called a Moore's law. There's no mistake behind that. You speak it into existence, and it shall be. That you shall be able to communicate directly with every single one of the personages or the people or the avatars or the visitors or the viewers that are on your live. You could do business with them. You could build with them. You could share documents with them. You can see them on the screen. You can see what they look like. There'll be many options. Virtual is the future, okay? Virtual is the future, and so is augmented. That's all I have to say. The game is to be sold. Virtual is the future. No, I'm just playing. On Gates Avenue in Brooklyn, there's a black-owned virtual setup for the youth, for the streets, for the children. I'm gonna give you more information on that. Let me see. I might be able to Google it, but this is something that parents in New York need to get on top of ASAP. This ain't no hood shit. This ain't no homeboy hookup. This is professional, all right? But we need to get these children learning how to code immediately, like our life depended on it. Like our lives depended on it. These children need to learn how to code, how to utilize computer language, how to create algorithms. You don't want them to get lost in the race. It's gonna be ugly in a few years. You do not want them to get lost in the race. Video conference call. Well, you know, we could potentially do that on Zoom. That's why I tell the family, send me your emails. Make sure you sign up to ktouniversity.com first and foremost. Make sure you sign up to facts2020.org. Okay? Make sure you do that. And by doing that, I will get your email. I will be able to contact you. If the YouTube thing, you know, don't work out, I'm talking about, we'll still be able to communicate. Communication is key at this point. It's so much things going down. So much good shit happening. There's so much doors opening. There's so much opportunity. There's so much, you know, windows, doors, backyards, fences, roofs opening up. You know, we just want to keep everybody connected, because through the connection is going to come the correction. And through the correction is going to come the resurrection. Okay? That's how it's going to work. You stay connected, then you could stay corrected. You stay corrected, then you could stay resurrected, meaning that you could build up your network. Your network is your net worth. You utilize your net worth to strengthen and weed out the weaknesses that exist within said network. You begin to barter and trade and do business with each other. You begin to come together and break bread with each other. That's what festivals are about. That's what these networking events are about. That's what some of these, like the We Buy Black convention, which I'll be an attendee of, or I'll be a vendor at. And, you know, the BAM Festival in Brooklyn, or the International Arts Festival and things of that nature. That's how you build. That's how you share good experiences and stuff like that. Then from there, people are helping other people, and people are working with each other. And then you create what is known as work spaces or workplaces, creative spaces, where people come together in workspaces and they do the work. They work. There's computers and desks. There's no lollygagging. There's no talking. Everybody's working on assignment. Everyone has a task. Everybody's building on their businesses, their entities, or whatever it may be. You know? That's what it is that will be opening up in many different states where there are people out there doing the damn thing, and they need to be in visually stunning and technologically advanced learning centers and working centers where people of like mind, like frequency, like values, you understand, and belong to a like network existing. That is not far-fetched. That is not well-wishing. That's a reality that can happen with a finger snap. Have you ever been to a work center? You know what I'm talking about? It's a big room. You know, it starts out like that. It's just a big room with desks. That's how it started. And then it gets real, you know, elaborate later on, you know. But you got to start somewhere. So there's enough work out there. There's enough job. Look, documentaries like Hidden Colors, it's at 5. There's an industry that can be created now. It's at 5. It has reached what is known as mass adoption, nigga. So many people are not taking advantage of the windows and the opportunities and the motherfucking boats that are lining up to take you niggas across the world. And it's a lot of people swagger jacking, complaining, you know what I'm saying, distracting and clout chasing in these their digital streets, you know, wasting niggas' time. And to be honest with you, one of the greatest sins that you can achieve in a time like this, what a fucking time to be alive, is to waste a nigga time, because time is the only thing that you cannot purchase with the Bitcoin or with some of those ducats in your bank. You can't buy time. Time is it's not, you can't buy it. There's no price to it. It's priceless. Niggas don't got the time to waste because time is priceless. These children are growing up. You know what I'm saying? Like chia pets, mad fast. We don't got no time to waste. We don't got no time to play around and fucking pity and deal with the chatty patty, pity patty, and all of the fake shit the niggas be giving time and energy to, the tomfoolery and the fuckery. And if that's the case, you know, you're just going to, you know, you gotta, there's gonna come a time where they're gonna cash you out. You're gonna have to pay for that. You're gonna have to pay for that. It's on your tab. You can't run from it. These little ones are growing up, B. This whole shit is picking up at an accelerated pace. The access that you have in 2019 to do something monumental is astounding. It's unparalleled. There's never been a time like this, nigga. All the windows is open. Niggas ain't throwing but near rock through it, though. All the windows is open. Everything is wide open for any one of these niggas to Spider-Man crawl through it. But there's only a few rushing the gate, bro. And everybody else is just seemingly standing there watching the whole shit go down. There's not enough rocks being thrown at this glass house. It shouldn't just be 5 of us. It shouldn't just be 10 of us. It been 10 of us for too long. And if it's 10 of us, like I said, if it's just 10 niggas or 10 nagas or 10 neguses or 100 of us, because I'm not saying it's just 10 people doing something. I'm saying that it's really just really about 10 going super hard to the paint. I ain't talking about no occasional nigga put a video out. You just pop up with a topic. Some shit Tyrese did on IG. Niggas is repeating it. You know, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about consistency. I'm talking about a stream of consciousness. I'm talking about you building up a narrative. I'm talking about sticking with a script, and that script is positively affecting one or two people, hundreds of people. I said positively because it's a lot of people I see that are being poisoned by the poisonous and the dark energy that's rising up. Not in the Trump administration, nigga. Not only in the conscious community, damn near everywhere around us. But it's definitely here. It been here before Trump was in office. Einstein. It came with Obama. That's a fact. That demonic, devilish, disagreeable, set like, you know, malefic energy, that shit came in around the Obama time into this community. It's been wreaking havoc ever since. You know, you can't have conversations about federal infiltration or COINTELPRO 2.0. No, this shit got invaded by spirits. You understand? They had nothing to do with the government. They came when the door was open. When the guards decided to clash and go to war with each other over minuscule shit and allowed the world to see that Clash of the Titans. While Zimmerman was still alive and shit like that. When the streets allowed Trayvon to get bodied like that and nobody put the green light out. Like shit like that is major infractions in world history, bro. It put the Nebuchadnezzar, it put the whole ship on a fucked up path. And then you have sociopaths who are following books like Survival of the Fittest and whatnot, and they feeling so good about themselves. They feeling so up. You understand? They feeling so vindicated. It's speaking to them. It's feeding them. There's an ego thing at play. There's something that remember, we're dealing with genetically inferior people. We're dealing with people who are born genetically inferior to another group of people on this planet who are genetically superior to them, bar none. There's nothing to talk about. We don't even have to speculate about what's going on at this point. Okay. The black man genetically is more superior, bottom line. This is something that they're fully aware of. This is something that they're very aware of. This is something that they're extremely uncomfortable about. And this is something that they have struggled with through time immemorial, because they know if anything were to ever happen and they were to lose any of the barbarity, any of the savagery, any of that Nordic, warlike, Viking-like mentality, they too would fall to the hands of their conquerors. They will be conquered. They will be conquered. And as you read the book, they explain what the fuck that means. Like, nigga, we conquered the gods. So we are ruthless in our persecution. We are relentless. We will crush them at every turn and every angle, because we will subdue them. We will dominate them, because that's what we came to do. That's what we came to do. That's what we were ordered to do. That's what we marched to do. That's what we've been doing, and that's what we're gonna do. And if you think that having somebody, you know, agree to sit down and have a talk with you about what they owe you, or even insinuating that they got a fucking bump for you somewhere, if you think that's gonna change the conditions of the psychosis of somebody who's real close to you, you know what I'm talking about? Who's real, who has his hands and her hands and a lot of stuff that's real dear to you and real personal to you. I mean, you know, you be my guest. You be my guest. But what we're gonna do is we are going to we're gonna teach each other the truth. You know, I look forward to being educated when I see Hidden Colors 5 with some information that even if I know it, it's good to hear it again. You know, I hear so many other things again and again and again. Shit, it doesn't hurt to hear the truth a few times. You dig? So that's what it is. I intend to do the same thing with these presentations that our good brother's doing with his presentations and making those into documentaries. I'm just giving you the preliminaries by doing these online lectures, but ultimately these deserve to become documentaries, full production, like a movie, to get remember, like I said, the Achilles heel to the perceptive reality, the perception-based reality of the Western mind. One of their Achilles heel is the Hollywood war machine. If you could create a film, if you could create a work of art, if you could create a moving picture, right, that can impact the psyche of not only the African man and woman, but also the westernized Anglo-Saxon, and topple some of their statues, oh yeah, you know, that's when things, you know, you'll begin to see. And the obvious conversation about, you know, battle or conflict or clashing, you know, that's something that I'll never have that on YouTube. So, you know, we don't even have to waste each other's time with that. We will stick within the realms of, you know, the guidelines, you understand, of not indicting oneself on YouTube, you know, and we'll keep the conversation in that realm. But what I do know is that, you know, we need to pay more attention to the people who we claim that we know. You know, you should ask your European friends and your concubines. I mean, you know, my bad, your partners. I don't want to use medieval language anymore. You should ask your partners of the European nation, of the European descent, about this book. You know, about the book, about the Satanic Bible, about Atlas Shrugged. You know, ask them about the psyche more so, the mental, you know, because that book was giving you peeks, right, into the mental machinations of a people, and the shit was kind of right on. You know, it was hitting a little bit. You know. So I haven't heard. I know. You know, people have these conversations about race with Europeans, and it gets all uncomfortable because fragility kicks in. But I haven't heard too many conversations where, you know, people are sitting down with American psychos, or people are sitting down with, you know, white Satanists, or people are sitting down with a white you know, somebody who's basically walking in the spirit of Redbeard. I would love to interview one of those people. We saw people like the KKK at Nation of Islam rallies. We saw them around Garvey. You know, I've been told on lunch breaks that, you know, some of these white power practitioners or adherents study a lot of the information that, you know, the Melanin Underground or the Dark Matter think tank studies, stuff like that. It's about knowing your enemy, bro. You know, studying, learning, mastering, being conscious of certain things. You know. But yeah, that's it though. You know what I'm saying? I think we got a little bit of information out there. You know, I don't want to drain the source. Yeah, the art of war. You know, I don't want to drain, but I'm giving you the pretext in which hopefully I gave you the pretext to where you can attack, or the angles that you could look at this piece of literature from. You know, the shit got meat in it. Bars. You know what I'm talking about? You know, the books don't hurt people. Hurt people hurt people. You know what I'm talking about? The book never hurt nobody. You know, I'm going to check it out. I'm going to continue to check it out. I'm going to continue to check out more books. If there are other books that people want to suggest, you know, shoot them by me in the inbox. You feel me? But we about to tap out. You know, we've been on this thing for a minute. I enjoyed every minute of it too. Yeah. We're going to do more of these detailed, in-depth broadcasts and whatnot based off of information that we want to share with the family. But yeah, once again, In Too Deep, Part 2, 7 hours, right? And then this presentation right here, 2 hours and change with slides and everything. You know, hit us up if you want the video on demand. We'll send it to you right in your email. You get it right away. Boom. You get to watch it. You get to break it down. You're not going to watch the whole 7 hours in one sitting, but get your dictionary or whatever, your Google, your Siri, whoever, and just watch it. Do a little bit of cross-referencing. If you buy the PDF, you'll have the PDF right there in front of you. So as you're listening to the lecture, you got all the information right there. And boom, you know, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But make sure y'all go and get Father Rich, aka Black Magic, and Cambada, Holy Ghost Part 2. We got that song on there, Last Breath, Fire. Make sure you go and get VVS. Go and check that video out. We just dropped that last night on the Black Moon. And make sure you go to Kings County and get some gear. kingscounty.bigcartel.com. Make sure you sign up to ktluniversity.com. And make sure you sign up to facts2020.org. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. You feel me? All right? And with that being said, love and light to the family. I'll catch y'all on Melanin Monday.